And we should be live.
All right. Hello. Are you gay? Are you bi? Are you a male?
We're just going on now.
And you you should probably be a male if you're going to start calling yourself gay because honestly, lesbians made the word lesbian. They should use it, right? Right? So, if you are a gay or bisexual male and you've been annoyed in recent years because you can't um, throw a cock down a gay bar's hallway without hitting a feminist, um, then maybe you might enjoy this podcast that we do because it is for people like you. And normally I'm really theatrical with the whole intro thing, but I'm kind of hungover today because I actually hung out with a lesbian last night and it was fun. She's cool. But she drinks a lot and I don't drink a lot. I used to drink a lot, but then I stopped and I only drink once, twice a month now. But I drank a lot last night. And then it got to the point where she bought 2 shots of whiskey at the end of it after I had already been drinking beer for like the past, 3 or 4 drinks were beer. And then she buys me a whiskey shot. The whiskey shot is gigantic. I finished mine. She can't finish hers, so I have. It was probably actually 3 shots of whiskey that I had at the end, and I am just today so blah. But hey, whatever. Our guest this week is somebody named um Max, and he's not here yet, but we're starting anyway because the audience awaits. So, panelists, regular Gaytriarchy staff, our cat's gay on the left.
I thought we were calling ourselves Gaytriarchs now.
The Gaytriarchs, yes.
Because it's totally cool. Hello, everyone. I am Arcatske, father of Gigtow, slayer of lesbian. No, not lesbian. I slay things. I don't know what they are yet, but I'm totally going to slay them. Yes, I do stuff on YouTube about gay people and nerd stuff, and I'm here and ready to go.
I want to say something like that. I'm Prince of Queens, defender of this realm. If you want to get at the gays, you're going to have to go through me first.
He is the prince of our queens. He is the Galadriel to my Elrond. Are you Galadriel? Actually, who are you in this whole thing?
I don't fucking know. I don't even know what that is.
I
mean, is it like Lord of the Rings or some shit?
Oh my god, then you don't understand the joke. We're the 9 of Gaydor. Oh god, I can't be on this podcast anymore.
Anyhow, Derek, Spacepan, what's up?
Not much. I was hoping you wouldn't ask me to speak first because I was eating a mozzarella stick, so that was working out really smooth so far.
That was
I go by. Ha! I almost missed that. No, we're not missing anything tonight. All right, so this is a Spacepan. I just do the YouTube commentary thing. I do like men's rights, some little bit of MGTOW and cap, anything that I think. So it's kind of just that intersection of where I'm at, sitting here reminding people that ANCAPs are still a thing. We didn't all disappear. We just got distracted. That's all I got for now.
Okay. Sounds good.
And
you?
Yes, me, Bacon, the bacony one. I am Saint of Bacon, the mystical tech monkey of the Gaytriarchy. I make my own salty and unkosher content on my channel, talking about anything from gay stuff to whatever the hell it is I made last week, something about environmental reparations. And but anyways, yes, I make random shit, sometimes gay-centric, sometimes not, and I am here.
Cool. And anyway, anybody in the audience that has not yet smashed the like button, you're, why are you even here?
They're just here to laugh at us like Carrie's mom warned us. They're all going to laugh at you. They're all going to laugh at you.
That was such a good movie. That was okay. I think that was a better. Granted, The Shining was really, really, really good, but I think that overall was kind of a better Stephen King movie.
I can't speak. I mean, it was Brian De Palma. It was the 70s. There was Pig's Blood, and yeah, Sissy Spacek before she got really even weirder. So yeah,
She was like the perfect person to play that role.
she was. I could have done without seeing her naked, but you know, that's me. But yeah, The Shining. I know it wasn't necessarily the most accurate, like Stephen King novel, but it was Kubrick, which means it's automatically sanctified every second of it.
I gained a new appreciation for Carrie after watching JD's YouTube channel. Like she's kind of weird, and like she really is obsessed with the movie, and she makes like kind of funny videos about like why it's important to her and stuff, and she's really passionate about it. And I like anyone who's passionate about something kind of weird like that. So she made me kind of revisit Carrie, I guess, from a more philosophical stance.
I like it when the gym teacher, there's the one girl that's like the particular cunt. Like, I think it was the one who like really hated Carrie and thought it was really particularly unfair that they were being punished by the gym teacher. And I think Claire was her name. And because the gym teacher made them have detention after school, but she was like working them out like fucking dogs. And she was like, she can't do this to us. And she like runs towards the gym teacher. I don't know what she thought she was going to do, but the gym teacher slaps her, but she has like a fucking closed fist. So she kind of like half socks her. It was amazing. I love that part.
Which is totally only something you could do like in the 70s. Like can you imagine them doing that in a movie now? There'd be like dramatic music and people would be protesting the movie. That's one of the things I think about now, which kind of depresses me, is I've been watching some old sitcoms, like not just The Nanny, which is the funniest thing I've ever. Yeah, I love that. But also I've been watching like the Newhart show and like just a bunch of really old sitcoms. And isn't it sad that a lot of the jokes and weird, like just little offhand observations that they made in older sitcoms are edgier now than they were then, probably?
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
I just don't. I don't think they could get away with any of the stuff now. Like,
yeah, like Married with Children.
Oh my god, no. There was on The Nanny, for instance, there was when Fran Drescher and some comedian who was in Home Alone, I forget what his name was, they get stuck on a ski lift, and the man starts freaking out because he's very high strung, and she's like, "Oh, you're an old man, aren't you?" And I was thinking, oh my god, can you imagine the Twitter outrage over something innocuous little comment like that now? It's weird how little humor this generation has. I can't wait for this older, more conservative generation to come. Not because I want the world to get more conservative, because just I want to see. Oh god! Like the old people are going to be the sensitive, triggered biddies now when this new generation rises up, and I can't wait to watch.
Oh, it's going to be great. We're going to all move to like MMOs as our senior assisted living.
Oh my god!
Like I can't wait to see the first like geriatric MMORPG. I actually have ideas for it. Like I have emails I'm sending them. I want there to be precious moments online. You know, precious moments.
I remember those. Yeah,
those things that your grandma collects. Like, what if you could totally incorporate like those like codes or whatever, and then you could have like the collection online and have like a cute little avatar. They go visit grandma somewhere that doesn't fucking suck.
You got that from fucking Black Mirror.
No, I had this idea when I was working at Hallmark before Black Mirror was even a.
Black Mirror totally ripped it off Spacepan.
Yes.
They just
have you seen that Black Mirror?
They got my email. Damn it! They found my fucking email. Like, oh, this is shoot from the hip. Maybe some idiot will watch it. Actually,
you think Hallmark?
It's good.
It's so good. I know Black Mirror is probably the most amazing thing ever. I finally, what else? Westworld. I like waited to watch until I'm like literally the last person to watch it. Everybody was like, it's like Game of Thrones except not, and I'm like, I think it's actually better.
I have heard that, and I literally paid for it on my PlayStation 4, and I am sitting on it. Have not watched a single episode. I told my mom that we should watch it together, and then I realized that like that would require my PlayStation being at the same place as my mom, so she would have to like fucking come over to my house. And
you could just take the PlayStation to her.
I don't want to do that. I have to ride the fucking bus like 2 different buses, and she kind of lives like in a slightly ghetto neighborhood.
Yeah, that's fair. You probably get around. No, I don't know, but
Yeah, the
I
comparison to Game of Thrones is stupid. That was just because a season ended right when it started. But
haven't watched anything new in almost 6 months. Like I just recently, you're all going to laugh terribly at me, but like with all the shit going on, like I haven't been working on videos. I've just kind of slumped for the last month or so, and I rewatched Deep Space Nine. I mean, what the hell is wrong with me? I've already seen it twice. Like I rewatched Deep Space Nine in a month.
And I've never watched it.
Yeah, it's probably the best Star Trek series.
Oh, fuck off.
What? I mean, in terms of actual writing and like, science fiction that isn't just utopian communism in space, like it's pretty good. Well, and I will admit, like all Star Trek series, you have to basically throw out the first 2 seasons. That's the rule.
Okay.
Yeah, no, like when the Dominion War kicks in like start a little bit on season 3, but like by season 4.5, oh my god, it gets good.
Huh.
But that's just the rule with Star Trek. That's why Enterprise, unfortunately, never really took off because it just didn't. They didn't let it go long enough, and I will admit I didn't give it enough time either. But they should not have made.
Was that the one with Scott Bakula?
It was.
Scott Bakula used to be so hot in Quantum Leap.
I will say this though, he still has the distinction, or whatever, if you can call it, honor of still being the most attractive Star Trek captain we've ever had. He's definitely, there was so much shirtlessness and semi-nudity on Enterprise compared to any other Star Trek series.
Well, he posed nude in the 90s.
I did not know that. I would pay money for that.
Yeah, you can dig it up, I'm sure.
I will look at that now.
I just have to say with Enterprise, I always had a thing for the engineer dude.
Oh god. Wait. Are you talking about Trip, the blonde Southern
the blonde
dude?
Yeah.
Oh god, yes. He was so hot. He's still good looking.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah, they had a lot of really good looking people on that show. I think the first time I watched it, I got a little turned off. Not really, but because they had the decontamination scene where they were where Trip and T'Pol, the Vulcan officer who is just like tan 7 of 9, both like, okay, we have to decontaminate now, and they start rubbing gel all over their bodies with close-ups on their abs and boobs and stuff. I'm like, this is not Star Trek. But once you get over that, honestly, it was really good. They did a lot of stuff. The main thing I think they did that it sounds really petty, but they should never have fucked with the intro. That weird like 80s soft rock ballad that they did for the intro. It's not necessarily even a bad song, but it's not Star Trek. It didn't make any sense. They didn't call it Star Trek. It didn't sound like Star Trek. The music, everything else, straight up Star Trek. It's very good. But when you screw with the intro, like
all right, hey,
yeah, we're talking too much.
Tune in for.
I have taken. You know what? We are the Nerdtriarchy tonight. Okay.
Okay, so you want to get
sorry,
into the news?
sorry. I don't mind talking to you about that stuff.
I'm totally rambling.
Okay, so let's look at this first news story because I think it's pretty interesting.
Which is the leather approved district in south of Market in San Francisco, which for the chat is a throwback to, what was it, 2 weeks ago when we had Sir Fozy on?
Yeah.
So anyways, yes, we were talking about how San Francisco was going to designate a leather district in the south of Market neighborhood, which is basically the epicenter of all the tech crap, more or less, right now. And the last Tuesday, the Board of Supervisors of San Francisco actually approved it. And
yeah, it's a place that I actually used to hang out in a lot because I lived within about 10 minutes to there, and there's a lot of bars there that are gay bars. Not so many. There used to be a lot more, but there's probably like 4 or 5 maybe. And I liked those bars reasonably well. So.
I think it's the secondary article for this one that actually lists the remaining bars, or at least the triggered comment section does. This, courtesy of Space Fan, he wants to talk about the triggered comment section. Where is he? Anyways.
Huh?
Oh, yeah, but anyways, the remaining bars are Eagle Stud, Hole in the Wall, Powerhouse, Oasis, and Lone Star. And I've only been to one of those. Yes.
Oh wait, no, Powerhouse, not Power Exchange.
Oh, and there's
Never mind.
there's nicknames for almost all of them. So there's the Flower Blouse
Mhm.
for the Powerhouse, and the hole in the wall is the hoe in the stall, and the Lone Star is the Go Home Alone Star.
Mm.
I haven't really been to that many gay bars in the city. I don't know, like it's just going to the city is expensive, and I'm definitely not going to go without drinking. But then I'd have to drive home, and that's not good. And I always stay too. So yeah, I know I probably should. San Francisco gays are vicious.
So one of the things that was interesting
Oh,
about
the Space Pad didn't tell me, but I kind of flipped through this. It was that saying that this should have been done in the 80s. The city's had several decades and two economic booms, and they're too late. And there is nothing there anymore, and the bars are closed, which isn't true. And they have been converted to tech space, and people have moved on. Sometimes you should just put things to rest and remember the good times. That was one person. And someone who actually was working on it, has a screen name, who's up right now, and I'm highlighting for the chat. Apparently, this process started in 2005, so it took them, almost 13 years to get this done.
yeah.
Which is how slow government in San Francisco moves. And when I was dealing with some of my grandfather's final business, even the lawyer who was helping me with it said San Francisco's government is so irrational that he will not work in San Francisco ever again. Because he describes local government as being normally it's 2 + 2 = 5, but in San Francisco 2 + 2 is fish, except for on Tuesday when it's purple and on Friday when everyone's sacrificing a cat, because it's just that irrational.
Yeah, that actually does not surprise me at all. The people in they're crazy. And the funny thing is that I think that it's not just that they're crazy leftists or some dumb shit. I think that there's people who, are like elitists who profit off of the confusion.
Yeah, they are.
There's like there are people who actually they were talking about this on Honey Badger Radio recently. The abstraction of ideas and coming up with like new words, things like heteronormativity, which obviously I've fucking heard heteronormativity since high school, but like there's people who don't even know what that means. Those words are deliberately designed as a elitist way of basically confusing people and shunning them. And the San Francisco government, there's so much money coming in and out of San Francisco, but if you can you can set up a system of gatekeepers to ensure that you're getting some of that money, and if anybody else wants to, they're gonna have to fucking jump through 5 million hoops and figure out the game, and that game, it's really hard.
The players are already they have the roster set, and they don't really want to expand it to anyone else. Bacon's shown a lot of really interesting research about even something as innocuous, well, not innocuous, but at just charity and other things in our sphere. It's really unsettling.
Hey, I gotta go grab a glass of water because hangover. Hold on.
Not only that, but I actually did a series about government in California, and I found out, I think, I live in like 9 special purpose districts. Yeah, government in the state is irrationally complicated, but I actually found out it's like that in most of the country, and we can thank the Great Depression for that.
Yeah, I mean, once you have these long-term contracts that obligate you once you hire, the combination of unions and long-term contracts for the public sector, it's I mean, I believe there is value to the public sector, and I also believe unions are important. However, the combination of them is pretty not good. You end up with a bunch of basically where government budgets are made to they don't get to actually do the things that they are supposed to do because they have to live up to their obligations. What was it? Computing Forever was talking about how the reason why SpaceX is so much more effective than NASA is because even though NASA has some of the latest and greatest minds and in theory just a huge unimaginably large budget. So much of that budget goes to just like union contracts and like making sure that they're not interested in actually accomplishing anything. They're interested in continuing the money farm and keeping all of the, we have X number of jobs that we have to keep, and if we do that, then we have to move them around. It's not a good recipe.
Yeah,
I am curious though, as far as this district go, what does it actually mean that it's a leather district?
Yeah, I'm curious.
Yeah, hold on. Let me see you on the actual news one. Let me see.
It means that leather rules are like government rules there.
We're all screwed then.
It's a leatherocracy.
Yeah, hold on. Let me actually scroll up and see what it actually means. It means something that people have a little bit more tax breaks when it comes to keeping your business there. If they're a long-term business, it's harder to plan a little bit comparatively to somewhere else in the city, which, I mean, San Francisco is such a nightmare for anything. That's not saying too much.
Yeah, you can't, I mean, architecture, that's a new word. Like anything in the city is just ridiculous. Like architects hate working in San Francisco because
oh, sorry.
I was just gonna say, because they want everything to be like either it's a Victorian or it has to be some like state approved ultra modern architecture. There's no, you can't do anything in California. What were you gonna say?
Oh, do you know who got like some sort of weird massive tax breaks or like didn't have to pay? I don't remember how it worked, but the Twitter building, the fucking Twitter office, which is right in
it's in Civic Center.
Yeah, it's in Civic Center, and it's right on Market Street, which is a super easy to get to, high traffic, should be really really high real estate. For some fucking reason, they like weren't paying city taxes or some shit like that.
Yeah, They got a break on their on the city payroll tax. For those of you who don't live in California watching, we have a thing called Prop 13, where a lot of corporately owned buildings are being taxed at the same value they were in the 70s. So property taxes have ceased being an issue in a lot of expensive areas, which is contributes to why they've inflated so much, is because you're not paying taxes on them effectively.
It's very arbitrary as to who gets those breaks or not, because in theory, the only people, like Prop 13, in theory, as I understand it, is supposed to benefit long-term homeowners. But since people sell their homes all the time, basically the only people who actually benefit it are the people who've had the same property since then.
Yeah, since
so
the 70s.
Yeah, so it's at the it seems to be at the city's discretion as to who gets that. And it's the same thing with like stadiums or basically if the city wants you there, they'll make it easy and cheap. If they don't want you there, they'll make it expensive and complicated.
Yeah.
Like
okay, I just wanted to, oh sorry. That was like everyone to talk at once.
I was gonna say this. I was seeing this one thing. It was explaining how Prop 13 works. Basically, if you take on like the square foot like rate of how much money people pay, Disneyland pays less per square foot in property taxes than literally any single family home around it, which is how Prop 13 works.
Which is why our schools are terrible.
Yeah.
I actually knew. Well, didn't necessarily know, but this is a person in my extended social sphere regarding this leather district thing that we were talking about. This woman in my extended social sphere, and I saw this Facebook post of hers. She was on the planning committee for getting the leather district proclaimed, and she made a post where she talked about how everybody else on the planning committee was white cisgender men over 40, and that's a problem. And then they kicked her off for some reason, and I don't know why. But she said that they had all sorts of paranoid conspiracy theories about her, and of course I'm thinking like, oh yeah, I wonder what you were fucking really up to.
Maybe she tried to tell everyone that leather was inhumane and that the leather district had to become the pleather district.
I don't fucking know, but they were saying that she's not a part of the community, which by the way, there's extremely few women, and the women that do that are a part of it are they're definitely like tokens, like people who are, I don't know, they're usually like performers or some shit. And they but it's less than 1% women. It's almost unheard of to go to a beer bust at the Eagle and see more than 2 women in the whole place, and it gets packed. Like there'll be like 300 people there. So, you know, she was all butthurt that they kicked her off and that they were all white cisgender men. So she was like,
How dare they?
well, she was like, so where are all the people of color and trans women and women who have my back and blah 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 blah. And she was like trying to rally some sort of, and the comments below her fucking post, it wasn't, you know, honestly, she wasn't so bad. And I know that she is somebody that is one of the token women that hangs out around those guys, you know, but there were fucking feminists being like, if you're making the cis men angry, you're doing something right, blah blah blah. And it was just like, oh my fucking god, oh yeah, that's gonna go over well, you know, like just it's like it's like you're proving that they should have kicked you off, basically, because you know, if you were to say, yeah, it's a shame because I feel like I'm part of this community, and I have a lot to offer, you know, say what if she said what, but the only fucking thing that she said was, they kicked me off and I'm a woman.
How dare they?
You know, and it's like,
it was the rhetoric equivalent of cutting off your hand so that you could slap people with it.
yeah, it's just, I mean, I don't know if they kicked her off because she was a cunt. Like, I don't know what it was. She didn't say why, and I didn't speak to any of the guys that were on the committee. But her only justification for why it sucked that she was kicked off and why she should be on was that she is a woman. Like, it was like, doesn't the committee need a female voice? No, actually, no. It is a like it needs the best people, most importantly, and also it needs people that the leather represents, and that's men. So fuck off. No, it doesn't need you. No.
But if there aren't any women or people of color, then they'll turn into Nazis, and then there'll be a new Reich, and everyone will die.
Well, you know, and like a lot of this actually does, there's kind of a parallel there, because it's like when you have these programs that are designed to like artificially prop up communities that otherwise wouldn't still be there, would otherwise maybe get diffused into other areas, or maybe even potentially congregate somewhere else. Like, we don't know. That's the whole point of having markets and having freedom, is you can't predict that shit, because we get to have choices, and then therefore, you know, you see what happens. And I really resent just every single person who like makes these things happen, because it's so cancerous and so destructive to communities and just like affects everything and fucks up everything. And like, yeah, like I'm not just at a point where it's like, oh, this is kind of like a funny, quirky thing. I'm like, this is like so not okay. Anyway, it's my ANCAP rant.
Like,
it was the same thing. It's like they want like, oh, we want a female voice in the upper thing, and it's like, yeah, actually we do, but like we want a female voice who like got there legitimately, and like what you're doing is guaranteeing that whatever female voice we get is going to be some affirmative action bullshit. And likewise with these programs, you're just guaranteeing that the communities that are going to be existing there are like affirmative action shoehorned into the community.
Well, I mean, like a great, I think it is. I forget. There's another YouTuber who uses this device, but imagine like if the argument doesn't work if you change some part of it and it still doesn't make sense. Like, for instance, imagine that there was like, you know, on the Lilith Fair, and some guy was like, there aren't enough men or Caucasians on the planning committee. The Lilith Fair is just too female. We need male voices on the Lilith Fair. Because people would tell him to fuck off and quit trying to invade our space. But because it's a woman trying to do it to a male space, no, of course, because everything is male space. And, you know, of course, more women, of course, fewer white people, because that's current year.
Yeah. But it's, I don't know. It's also another reminder of how much people hate meritocracy, you know. Sargon actually did a really good speech about communism, and ultimately the way that these people think, like they do want to tear people down to the lowest common denominator. And it becomes so evident that, like, you know, in order for communism to ever be achieved, you would have to demonize people that are prosperous and have any sort of meritocracy. It's so sick. I don't know why people actually get into it.
I think people can't deal with their own inadequacies, and rather than admit some cruel and difficult truths like life is unfair, I'm not inherently special, and I may never achieve anything. You know, I could achieve something, I might get something good, but the fact that, like, basically I think it comes down to, like, the biggest difference between capitalism and communism is the most basic is life. Is life supposed to be fair? In communism, life should be fair, but in capitalism, life is not fair. And I think the difference is one is an assumption of, one is a statement of fact, life is not fair. The other one is a denial of fact. Anytime your argument is based on should, you're denying reality in place of something that you feel is more important than what actually is. Now, some things are shoulds. We should not have slavery, but not all shoulds are valid.
Well, I think that, you know, people, what the communist mentality, you know, when you say that people should learn that they're not necessarily special, I think, you know, everybody's special in the way that they are unique, blah 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 blah. But what I think people need to get better at is simply accepting the fact that they have to figure out what they are good at and what is realistic for them. And so it's like, you know, you're not going to necessarily get to be your top pick of career in your life. Like, that's not necessarily going to happen for various circumstances. You might not, you know, if you're some guy who's short but really really fucking loves basketball and you want to be a professional basketball player, it's very unlikely that that's going to happen, and you probably should accept that, you know. And you can adjust in all sorts of different ways to reality. But these
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
people are telling them that that they don't, and that somehow they can have everything at once. And the people who this appeals to are the people who are the worst at the most different things, and they're the ones who think that, you know, they're like, it's our turn. And, you know, like, it's these fucking crazy SJWs that you
Weak,
know,
stupid, and lazy.
like, ugly, good, okay, so people who aren't good looking, and maybe they're like also a racial minority, and they get rejected by white guys on Grindr, and like, they post about how white guys who have, you know, dating preferences for white guys or for white and Latino, that preference is racist and blah blah blah. And it's like, well, what, you know, you say that, you tell them that this is a irrational thing. And this actually just happened to me, by the way. So I told somebody that, hey, you know, first of all, you shouldn't call yourself people of color. It's kind of racist to call people colored. Maybe use racial minorities. And also, you know, if you're gonna just whine about this, white guys are never actually gonna date you. You can't force things down people's throats. And you know, if maybe if you stopped whining all the time, you might get more dates with white guys that you obviously want so much. And his response was to tell me, oh yeah, well, you're the minority now. And it was basically like, and now you're gonna, basically like, now you're gonna eat it, all right, you know. And it was like, it was so obviously this kind of attitude of revenge where he thought that he was going to be rewarded for fucking something. But it's like, no, nothing, you know. Like, if the whole social justice thing goes where you guys want to take it, we're all going to suffer. So,
well, it's very much a religious mentality. Like, I can't remember if I made this distinction in one of my like really old ancient videos, but it's when I first moved back to California from Nevada after being there for like 6 years. I very much encountered social justice and basically regarded them the same as I would Mormons, being a very low opinion of them because they just want to have as some sort of authoritarian system structuring their life, dictating everything by default, and not letting people actually achieve something. So it's basically they don't have a religion in my mind, or at least one that would, force some sort of lifestyle onto them, and they're trying to recreate that and then spread it like the religious right used to.
No, totally.
Mhm.
I was imagining again it like Christian like religious fundamentalists and SJWs, again, both based on the should mentality. You should worship Jesus Christ. You should support Black Lives Matter. Always like what is wrong, and what is wrong, should is everything. Like coming back to your basketball analogy, Prince, like I was imagining, again, like making, acknowledging the fact that you're short, even though you love basketball, and then trying to find ways to live and be happy with it. That would be, you might say, kind of like the capitalist or just rational approach to it. I was imagining, though, the SJW approach would be to say, like, you know what, it's not fair that I am unable to play professional basketball just because I'm short. We need to lower the height requirements for the NBA and enforce, have like height quotas and
make sure that they all have at least a few short players on their team,
because
or probably actually, what, better yet, let's just fucking shut down the NBA entirely.
That would be impressive to Black people, though.
I can
totally... Yeah, right, really can't win.
No, could you imagine, though? That would be so funny if they actually tried to apply the affirmative action intersectional principles on sports. Like, the reason that basketball is, hurting minorities because they are only representing mostly tall people of color. Where are the short, where are the short overweight Asians? Where are the lanky Indians? Where are, like, we need more diversity of height and ethnicities in basketball.
It'll just be like a circus of beige people and like weird, like racially ambiguous. We should like check multiple boxes, but like, no, what I want to see is more trannies in sports, right? Let's be consistent. I want more just like big buff women just beating the shit out of other women, I guess.
Oh, like
why not? Just bring it on. Like, this is the standard. The genders are supposed to be the same or whatever. Like, okay, I guess all the trannies get to ruin your sports then. Oh no. Let the trannies do to women's sports what feminists have done to the Boy Scouts. How about that?
It's already happening. There was actually some sort of competitive fighter who was a male to female transgender and whooped the shit out of this woman.
And she like fucking ended her career. She like fractured her skull or some shit.
Yeah, like, I'm joking, but that shit actually kind of wasn't funny. Like, it was pretty extreme. Like,
it illustrates in the most visceral, obvious fashion, it's a bad idea. There are we have different categories for reasons. A light, a featherweight boxer has no business going in the ring with a heavyweight. It doesn't matter how skilled he is. At a certain point, even he might get a couple good shots. He might be a better boxer, but the heavyweight is going to kill him. It's just not appropriate.
Yeah, there's a reason. Like, whoever the commissioner is that set up that fight should be totally fired, because
really,
it actually should be some legal punishment against that, because that's why there are licenses for fighting. You get the license, and then the commissioner sets it up based on if it's a fair fight at all in any way, and it's a commissioners, that's a important job in the fighting world, and so you really shouldn't
I heard
do
there are
such
even like cockfights that have that. Like even with cockfights, they're more fair. They're like, okay, but make sure that they're the same weight, sorta. And it's like, but no, like, okay, the reason I'm just such a jaded bitch about this is that, like, you know, just like any MRA, I can give you a fistful of all these gendered issues that are really important and totally ignored. But then it's like, oh, like my sports are being ruined. Now I suddenly care. Now let's rethink this. And it's like, really, really, bitch, like that's what it took. Like, come on, like why? Like, why is this the battleground? You know what I mean? And it's, again, similar with the Boy Scouts. It's like, yeah, this sucks, but it's kind of like compared to boys' other problems. It's like, I see why this is like the line people are deciding to hold, but it's kind of like,
Well,
cool.
let's go to the Boy Scouts
Okay.
article. Now that
Hold on. Now we have two articles to choose for this one. There's the general news article, and then some feminists op-ed against the Boy Scouts doing this. So let's just start with the news story, and I will get to reading.
Okay.
Anyways, for 108 years, the Boy Scouts of America's flagship program has been known simply as the Boy Scouts. With girls soon entering the rank, the group says the iconic name will change. The organization on Wednesday announced a new name for its Boy Scouts program, Scouts BSA. The change will take effect in February. And I'm assuming that's of next year because we're past February. Anyways, Chief Executive Mike Sarbaugh said many possibilities were considered during the lengthy and incredibly fun deliberations before the new name was chosen. I personally think it's shit, just leaving that out there right now. We wanted to land on something that evokes the past but also conveys the inclusive nature of the program going forward. He said, we're trying to find the right way to say we're here for both young men and young women. The parent organization will remain the Boy Scouts of America and the Cub Scouts. Its program serving children from kindergarten through 5th grade will keep its title as well. The Boy Scouts is, 11 to 17. It's just Scouts BSA. Any comments?
What does BSA stand for?
Boy Scouts of America.
So they're still the Boy Scouts, but they have girls now. So to be more inclusive, they just made their name an acronym, but it still contains the exact same information.
Yeah, that's why I think it's stupid.
And
Okay.
you know the feminists got their foot in the door and now they fucking run the place.
Yeah, I doubt that. Because the Boy Scouts is still heavily sponsored by religious organizations, so I doubt they'll take over anytime soon.
Well,
I don't know, man. You'd be amazed by the way that feminists have infiltrated religious organizations. My uncle, who lives in Arizona, and I mean he was always left wing, but he's, I don't know. He goes to a church, and his church is like the fucking preachers or whatever are like fucking lesbian feminists that hate men, and they've convinced him to hate men. It's fucking wacky. Like, I don't know what the fuck. It's like
their biggest sponsors are still Baptists and Mormons, and they hate social justice more than anybody.
But the fact that they did this at all, I was Mundane Matt, who I'm not really happy with right now, because I just watched his video about it from the other day, and I thought it was an incredibly glib and idiotic take, basically saying that the Boy Scouts, their numbers are dropping, and they need to, they're doing a good thing because they're being, inclusive, and the Girl Scouts, really, they brought this on themselves because they're, being exclusive. And that's dumb, because the Boy Scouts are accepting girls, not really because, are their numbers down? Maybe, I don't know. I'm sure those numbers go up and down. But here's the thing. If I recall, there's a girl who wanted to be an Eagle Scout who basically sued them. And the Boy Scouts, it seems like, are settling, they're because this girl was probably propped up to this. And they're settling because they already had enough trouble with when they were trying not to have the gay Eagle Scouts. And, you can argue about that, yay or nay, whatever. But, at least those were still Boy Scouts, men. But now the fact that it comes back to something Prince and I have talked about a lot. Feminists cannot stand any kind of male exclusivity. They demand that they must be included in everything, but they still want their own spaces.
Yeah. Well, they demand that they be included in everything, and that actually ends up meaning that they have control over everything. Because feminists ultimately do want female supremacy, matriarchy. That's the end goal of feminism, and it always will be. It's not even because they think that they want that necessarily. But if you believe that the world is an oppressive patriarchy where all men oppress all women, and you need to cure that, the only way to cure that is to stop men from doing this alleged thing. And how do you stop them from doing thing? Well, you lord over them everywhere you can. That's what it is. I mean, that's you can't get past that. You can there's even if you have the best intentions about equality and stuff, once you start actually trying to achieve stuff, that is what you will do. You'll start being a female supremacist.
It's the exact same thing that they did with Grindr. Like now instead of going to where men are being men to be with other men, now they're going after. They're literally putting girls in an environment which I think is actually deeply inappropriate, because what is going to happen by putting girls in the Boy Scouts. It's going to change the entire dynamic of how. I was not a scout. I was a weird Christian growing up. I went to some sort of Pathfinders. I don't know. They're probably still around. Some weird Adventist version of Boy Scouts. But anyway, I understand the mentality. And we had girls in there. And as a result, I can tell you what is going to happen to the Boy Scouts. No rough and tumble play. Everyone has to be quiet. The girls are always, the models of behavior. And the problem is that Boy Scouts and a lot of these organizations the idea is to teach these young boys how to be men, how to be self-sufficient, how to learn tasks. And they get to be around other men in nature. And, it's a very masculine growing experience. If you put girls in there, it's going to change everything. And I'm not saying, oh my God, the girls are going to ruin it. There is strong evidence that when you have girls and boys together, they have a tendency, because they have a different way of playing and interacting and, different social dynamics, they're going to change the way the group is run to favor the girls. If nothing else, just because girls get uncomfortable with rough and tumble play, because that's not what they do.
And also because teachers and adults when presented with a group of kids, adults will always favor the girls because the girls are they're easier to deal with, because boys are just
they're boys.
there was a comedian, what was that comic author, Dave Barry, or no, I think it was, maybe it was Dave Barry. He had a description that I always thought was quite funny. He was like, in general, little girls come across as thoughtful, while little boys come across as pod people from the planet Destructo.
That's about right. But you know what? It's people that want to make boys act like girls are being profoundly ignorant of physiology. Boys are rambunctious because they're filled with testosterone. It makes them crazy. You want to see what the girls are going to be like when they get filled with estrogen? Like those same model girls, they may be great in grade school, but ask any other teacher, are middle school girls or for early high school girls, when they first experiencing the change, those model girls become emotional nightmares who threaten their teachers and cry in the bathroom for hours about their bangs.
Or spread rumors about other girls that make the other girls say that they're going to kill themselves and weird crap like that. All those, the vast majority of bullying campaigns that you hear, these stories that you hear about, some girl got bullied on Facebook. Actually, I know this happens to my friends' kids. This happened to a friend of mine's kid recently, where a group of girls were fucking with their daughter. And she's pissed. My friend is actually an instructor of jujitsu. Her husband and her own a studio, or are part of the people who run it, and they so she was all wanting to go, she kind of felt like beating the crap out of the mom of the kids because she wasn't doing enough about it. But it was this, that's the type of shit that little girls do, especially now with the internet. people, Anita Sarkeesian and fucking, all the fucking professional feminist bullies
The
are
internet bitches.
they're good at being cry bullies and sort of making it look like they're victims at the same time, but they're actually bullies. Well, little fucking middle school girls haven't figured out that skill yet. They're just bullies, and they do it like.
Yeah, boys will beat up the kid they don't like. Girls will like try to make the child. Well, they'll ruin the life of that kid. But it's one thing to shove a kid in a locker, which is not cool. But it happens. You'll probably get over it. Spreading gossip saying that oh my god, did you see Cassandra? Oh my god, she totally bled all over her seat in first period. That's if enough people believe that, it's never going to go away.
First period, come on.
Oh god, I didn't even think about that. That's unintentional double pun.
Yeah, and then they become adults, and then we have #MeToo.
Mm-hmm.
Well, in the article, it is saying that most of their activities will still be gender segregated. So I have no idea.
Then what's the point? Like
the point is they're going to let all girl groups join the Boy Scouts, and it's still going to be segregated.
This begs the question though, a lot of this has to do with girls wanting a very small number of girls who apparently aren't happy with the Girl Scouts who, what exactly do Girl Scouts do besides sell cookies?
Oh, they knit, and apparently they're doing STEM programs now, which I do have an op-ed from a feminist about not liking what the Boy Scouts are doing that we can get into. If you'd like me to start reading.
Oh yeah. Read that.
Okay, so this is from Business Insider, which is, I believe, a British website, or it might be from their American branch. But anyways, the title is "I'm a former Girl Scout, and I think the Boy Scouts' plan to allow female members is a pseudo-progressive ploy." And anyways, let's just get into this. The Boy Scouts of America has waded into the culture war with its decisions to allow girls to become members and change its names to Scouts BSA. The decision was cheered by many progressives, including the National Organization of Women. Meanwhile, many on the right bemoaned the decision as tragic self-destruction. I'm going to have to side with the critics. The creation of Boy Scouts BSA is bad for girls, but not for the reason the right thinks it is, and it certainly isn't a feminist win. Why Girl Scouts matter. In full disclosure, this lady was a Girl Scout and is obviously a feminist. Over my decade as a Scout, I did much more than sell cookies, participate in events, and from learning to knit to orienteering, the fuck, in the freezing rain, while troops adjust activities based on members' interests. One of the Girl Scouts' aims is to push girls to develop skills in areas where women are typically underrepresented. For example, last year Girl Scouts launched a STEM pipeline program which plans to roll out 18 cybersecurity and additional space science badges. I grew up in West Point, and my love for the Girl Scouts is irrevocably tied to the female cadets and other girls and women I met through my troop. Cadet-led rock climbing lessons and practices with the rugby team helped me understand from a young age that even in an environment where women are the minority, they can find community and thrive. I continued to participate in the Girl Scouts into high school. I even earned my Gold Award, the Girl Scouts equivalent of becoming an Eagle Scout. The Boy Scouts have presented girls with the ability to become Eagle Scouts as one of the major benefits of allowing girls to join. Sydney Ireland, who has been an unofficial member of the Boy Scouts for more than 12 years, put her quest to become an Eagle Scout front and center in her reasoning for why the organization should open up its membership. While the Girl Scouts provide a great program for many girls, I want young women to have equal opportunity to earn merit badges, ranks, and the equivalent of the Eagle Award, which opens future opportunities, Ireland wrote in an op-ed to the Washington Post. More than half of all astronauts were involved in scouting, and 20% of West Point cadets are Eagle Scouts. I don't think Ireland is necessarily wrong in her assumptions that being an Eagle Scout opens doors. I typically frame the highest achievement in Girl Scouts in relation to the Boy Scout equivalent, but I think the issue is that men and boys' achievements are often valued more highly than those of girls and women, and that's the problem. Hold on, and if you need a shot of liquor, please go get that.
I'm putting a tack in my eye right now.
No, vodka's better. If you drink it right from the bottle, you get that rush of nihilistic dread. Anyway,
continue with the cancer.
Anyways, there's only one sentence left, and that problem that can be best solved by promoting the Girl Scouts. And also, there's a nice picture of a gay scout with a gay rainbow flag in what I'm assuming is either New York or San Francisco.
I mean, like, yeah. So that Kathy Ireland, or was it Kathy Ireland, Sydney Ireland, whatever. Like, I don't care if she's young. That bitch is the main reason that this has become such a thing. So one girl wants to become an Eagle Scout because networking or some shit. You know what, bitch? If you want to be an Eagle Scout, why don't you become a high-ranking Girl Scout and make them do more stuff? Why don't you make the Girl Scout a better organization? Give the boys a run for their money if you can. But what? Because it's like my first video. Whenever feminists, transgenders, whoever, these weaker groups, when they don't like what they have, when they can't make their own spaces, it's too hard. Let's just take over the other spaces.
Well,
Yeah, like, why couldn't they just start a fucking new co-ed scouts? Like,
well, because that's hard.
Yeah.
You can't ask women to do like the hard work of making another organization that's even better than the one that they don't like. No, they have to make sure that the men share their piece of the pie. Communism.
Well, I mean, honestly, how many crazy feminists do you think are going to push their daughters into this, and how many girls are willingly going to join?
I don't know.
I mean, in all honesty, I mean, what are we going to get? Maybe 100,000 girls out of an organization of over 2.5 million.
I hear what you're saying, and I've heard someone in the comment said that earlier. Like, to be fair, this is definitely like a first world type problems. Like, but it's not really the actual reality, because yes, chances are it's really not going to change anything that much, because in the same way that, like, you know, the Girl Scouts having a STEM pipeline is unlikely to, you know, radically change gender in tech because men and women are interested in different things. I know that this isn't actually going to change the organizations that much on a practical thing. It's the precedent, and definitely
like Grindr.
Yes, it's not about how many, you know, cisgender, transgender, non-binary women are on Grindr. It's the fact that they broke open a barrier which didn't need to be broken. So
yeah, and we're letting them get away with it.
Yes,
like we can't say no. This is for boys. Boys are allowed to have things to themselves. Fuck off. The fact that people can't do that, they're incapable of it at every opportunity. It's absurd.
Facebook groups for it.
Yeah,
it's no. I mean, so yeah. Thank you, Sydney Ireland, and your diesel dyke butch mother, whoever else like pushed you into this. I hope your merit badges were worth it. Personally, I hope you get pricked on one of them and get tetanus.
Oh, don't worry. There's more cancer to this article.
Oh, great.
Anyways, it goes into the history of scouting, and no, the cancer doesn't get any less thick. Girl Scouts leadership has opposed the Boy Scouts opening membership to girls, with one leader calling it reckless ploy to boost membership numbers. Girl Scouts prepare girls for a lifetime of leadership like no other organization. The campfire organization would differ with that. Anyways, Girl Scouts wrote in the blog post published Wednesday, from protecting our national parks to accepting a mission on the International Space Station to lobbying the City Council, Girl Scouts is the best suited organization to offer girls unparalleled opportunities in the 21st century, skills and empower themselves with experiences they need to succeed in life. The post continues, really, God, fuck your English skills. There's no contest. Girl Scouts is unmatched in delivering proven outcomes that set girls up to close the gender gap and position our nation to compete in the global economy. While the Girl Scouts has evolved over the years, it has been relentless in its mission to put women and girls front and center. The Girl Scouts faced backlash when it was inclusive of LGBT people for decades, opening and allowing transgender girls to join in 2011, and never having a policy excluding bisexual or lesbian members. Girl Scout cut religious requirements in the early 1990s, while Boy Scouts have yet to formally do so, which is my primary reason why I don't think they'll take over so quickly. Comparing this history to that of the Boy Scouts is central to why the organization's decision to expand its membership feels like a disingenuous ripoff. It also makes it confusing that progressive organizations would celebrate the expansion of the group. While the Girl Scouts have been under fire since the early 2000s for accepting gay, bisexual, and trans leaders, It took an intense pressure for the Boy Scouts to officially change their position. The Boy Scouts only allowed openly gay scouts in 2013 and gay leaders in 2015. It didn't allow transgender children to join until last year. Girl Scouts leadership has slammed the Boy Scouts for its lack of diversity, writing a 2007 letter that the Boy Scouts should focus on expanding the scope of their program to all boys, including those the Boy Scouts have historically underserved and underrepresented, such as African American and Latino boys. And the liquor next to me is looking more delicious right now.
Is this the Girl Scouts or the National Organization of Women Undersecretary Group? Like this sounds like feminist in training boot camp.
Yeah, it does sound like feminist in training boot camp.
Yeah. As an aside, so for some reason I was wanting to research and learn something about NAMBLA, the North American Man Boy Love Association, because it's a very strange thing. And what I didn't know until is that they actually have a fucking website that you can just go ahead and look at. Like, it's not hidden or anything.
You probably shouldn't, because they'll log your IP when you go on websites like that.
Yeah, right. It was weird. But I just wanted to know what it was, and so I looked at it, and I don't remember if there was pictures of because I saw them in a documentary one time, and they have a newsletter, and it's fucking creepy. The cover has pictures of 9-year-old boys with their arms around each other's and their shirts off and shit. Yeah, it's totally gross. But the part that I really remember was there was a testimonial part, why NAMBLA is important. And the story that I remember most was some guy being when I was 13, I was in the Boy Scouts, and my scout leader was very attractive, and I pursued him. I was waiting patiently to find a time to be alone with him, and then finally I lost my virginity to him, and I've never regretted it. But we had a very magical relationship, and then it was just oh my fucking god. And it's so that's why NAMBLA is important. It's not just for the men, it's for the boys.
Oh my god. Oh, that's terrible.
Yeah, well, that was basically I don't want to say a Milo defense, because obviously this is much more
insidious.
Yeah.
Well, and it's we don't actually know that person is even telling.
Real.
Yeah.
It's I mean, there's any number of. You can't really believe any internet testimonial now, especially if there's no actual way to verify that it's a real person.
Oh my god, now I want to make a fake sex association with fake testimonials. You guys want to make fake testimonials around some weird obscure fetish? We can make an awareness thing.
Hello, guest.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
Hey.
Cool, you're here.
Hello.
So we are we were just getting finished talking about the Boy Scouts allowing girls in.
Dude. Oh my god.
Were you a Boy Scout?
No, I mean, just the ideal of, I mean, I was in the army, and the ideal of something that was helping dudes. And now all of a sudden it's just getting shut down, and it's just everyone's scout.
Yeah. Well, it's going to become fucking I think Bacon said feminist boot camp or something.
Yeah.
No, that's what the Girl Scouts is.
Yeah, it's the Girl
Scouts,
Scouts is baby feminism, and they're angry because they're gonna go for the gender neutral one instead, just regular scouts.
But at the same time, though, it's classic feminist technique, though, to with one hand infiltrate and get what you want, and then with the other hand complain about what they themselves are pushing for.
Yeah, dude. You guys, I'm sorry. I'm sorry I'm late. I was actually, and
you were what?
I realized it was 9, and I was like, oh my fucking god.
Oh, you thought it was a different time?
Yeah.
Because Bacon was so insensitive to people in different time zones.
How dare you? How dare you?
He's in our time zone. He's half an hour from us.
Yeah.
Well, he's starting with pig. Starting with pig.
Well,
Mm.
okay. So, did we have another story that we wanted to?
No, this is actually a fairly long op-ed. I think there's another section or two to the
Oh, I
teaser.
mean,
No, I think
it is
we
Boy
talked about.
Scouts.
I think that we talked
We're
about that
scouted
specific
out.
story enough. But if we want to talk about more things about the Boy Scouts, I mean, we've been talking about this topic for a while. I think the audience might be boring of it.
Well, why don't we get to the guest?
So I think
Well-
I think that we should get to the guest because he said that he had a lot to talk about.
Oh well, there's
Um,
one last point I wanted to make about the feminist scouts or the Girl Scouts or whatever. I would find it funny that if like some like bold like lesbian mom's like my daughter's gonna go be infiltrate the Boy Scouts and then she comes back as some Jesus loving anti-feminist. That would just make my day.
Oh my god, that would make me so happy.
Mama, I don't believe in the patriarchy now. It's what Jesus wants.
I found a husband, Mama, and I want to settle down and I want to start a family.
Mm-hmm.
I have no non-binary daughter.
That would be beautiful. Wait, hold on, guys. Hold on, give me a second.
You know what else we could start doing that'd be kind of fun is if we're ever at a crossroads where we're like, oh, do we want to sit on this article or move on to the next thing? Do you want to do this thing or the next thing? We could like ask the chat to do one or two.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, we should actually start involving
A little bit of
the chat.
interaction.
We're a
Especially since
gaytriarchy, not a democracy.
True, the Gaytriarch's word is law. But we do have loyal vassals that show up in the chat almost every single time.
True.
We could unite them.
Mhm.
We're Gaytriarchs and they serve under us.
Well, technically we've knighted Farrell because he has a wrench.
That's true. If you've spoken, if you've been amongst us, if you have spoken with the Gaytriarchs, you may not be a Gaytriarch, but you have definitely been touched by the divine.
I think that it should be all wrenches or no wrenches. I think those are the two best ways to do wrenches.
Quit and capping everything. You're just trying to make anarchy. Figuratively.
Oh, is that it?
literally.
Okay, so yeah, so right wing anarchy is everybody gets a wrench, and then left wing anarchy is nobody gets one, or is it the other way around? Is that how we're supposed to be the same? Is that horseshoe theory? Did someone try?
No,
Did
no
I
one
finally
cares.
accidentally prove horseshoe theory? Like the fucking worst thing ever. Everybody's been like, oh, I proved it.
You are the horseshoe.
Okay, we were gonna talk about political compasses later. Was that gonna be a
Oh
thing?
yeah.
Yes.
Wait, I
can
thought
take it
that
on
was
air.
next week.
I thought it
Okay,
was-
that's fine.
I thought it was this one.
I always get too hot out of the call whenever we talk about those. Just those questions, just like I had nightmares about them because they're just terrible.
It's okay. We'll just
I
mute
hate the
you.
fucking questions because they're all like fucking multiple choice, and I'm like D, none of the above. Fuck off.
But they are not as bad as expected though. I was a little surprised when I took mine, but I was like, oh, I guess actually, in a weird way, that's correct. I mean, no test no 20 question test can, tell you who you are, like who your political star sign is, but it's an interesting marker. And I thought it would be
Except for Leo, baby.
Except
Except
for
for
what?
Leo.
for which?
Except for Leo, baby.
Oh.
Come on, I'm a Leo 100%, baby.
Well, why don't you introduce yourself, Leo?
Oh, yeah, I mean, fucking an hour late. No, I'd love to.
Everyone stare at him figuratively.
So I'm actually born July 23rd on the cusp of like Cancer and Leo.
And he lives in the San Francisco Bay Area, I believe, in Oakland. Is that what you said?
Yeah, dude. And actually what got me here was like Prince of Queens, perfect analogy of like why he hated San Francisco and like I'm in Oakland. And he was totally right. Of
Oh.
like of like I went to the army and I was in during the Don't Ask Don't Tell, and I joined and I came back and I landed in Oakland, and for some reason I didn't want to go to San Francisco, but I was one of those angry fucking queens, and I landed in Oakland. I was like, oh, this is my spot. I was those. I was those. Did you just assume my gender?
Mhm.
And I
Oh,
was.
really? Were you non-binary? Were you a non-binary?
It took me a while. It took me a year. Once I landed in Oakland, I liked the art scene. I liked the. I was a poet. Everyone understood my poetry. Everyone clapped for me. And then after a year, I found a skirt. Before I went to Burning Man, I found a skirt, and the skirt that it fit me, and I loved it. And after Burning Man started the snowball into angry feminism, the gay patriarchy. Dude,
You went down the dark side.
I went down the dark side, dude.
And
You
can I
mean
ask?
Burning Man taught you nothing? The 10
Burning-
principles didn't reform your life, and you didn't build a small little utopia in your own community?
No, he probably just took a lot of drugs and got really, really hungover.
Dude, the Prince of Queens analogy of Oakland, like, it was just so beautiful. I was like, this is exactly who I was. And it wasn't even an analogy of Oakland. It was like why I hate San Francisco. And then he's like, oh, and Oakland Queens hate oh shit.
Yeah, Oakland. But see, Oakland is particularly. It basically is San Francisco for all practical purposes.
Yeah,
But-
yeah,
If it had a lot of black people.
But
yeah.
but it has it's more like it's more straight, and it's more far left, and it's more more radical. There's
Also really ghetto.
Yeah.
Mhm.
yeah,
Well,
and
was.
there's a lot of lofts and squats, like places where people aren't actually supposed to be living. So so there can be like really, really cheap rent and stuff in Oakland, and so that breeds a certain type of far leftist, anarchist, idealist type person.
Like as soon as I landed in Oakland, that's kind of what I related to. I was like, oh my god, you kind of find your gay dude in a scattered field of hippie, no deodorant, dandruff, dude.
Yeah, that's my biggest issue with bohemians. I can deal with so much, but
Yeah.
the weird body odor thing,
Yeah. God.
yeah, Bacon and I are actually not that far from you. We are also in the Bay Area.
Yeah.
But so yeah, that's why I know your secrets. Maybe not quite as well as you do, but
Mhm.
Right.
So, look, can I ask you where you grew up?
I actually grew up in Milpitas by San Jose.
Okay.
South
what
Bay.
Yeah. What happened was I grew up as a Jehovah's Witness,
Oh,
and
Lord.
yeah, my parents found out I was homosexual
I don't
through
like that.
MySpace. MySpace.
How old are you?
I'm 30.
30. So when MySpace was popular, you must have been about 20, maybe
18. Yeah.
15. Okay.
They didn't like it. They threatened to throw me out at 18 because they didn't want to raise a gay adult. So I just immediately joined the army.
That is really rough.
That's
Right.
intense, dude.
I know, right? But actually, it was a really good idea because
Yeah, you got out of that craziness.
yeah, man, I made a bunch of money. I made a bunch of friends. I realized Southern dudes are not what you think. They're fucking awesome. And yeah, and then I came back. My parents was like, "We're so sorry, we're idiots." And then I got recalled back into the army to go to Kuwait, and left again, came back, and yeah, now life is fucking golden. Now full circle. You know, while I was in the military, I was a Democrat, and I was like, I hate life. I wish I could just be, around my people. And now that I'm back into Oakland, I'm like, I miss the army. I miss people that weren't part of the hive mind.
Yeah, well, Oakland didn't used to be the way it is now. Like, I lived in Oakland when I first moved to San Francisco for about 6 months, and people were the punk rockers then weren't like hyper PC and weird, They
Yeah, right.
That kind of runs against the whole point of punk. Whatever the many points of punk, since the only thing I can tell that punk really stands for is telling everyone else that their punk is poser.
Oh,
Yeah.
the new vegan.
Oh
Yeah.
god. Yeah.
Why
But
did?
yeah, the people were largely very un-PC for the most part. I mean, it's they're very accepting of minority groups, but you can do that and like also be un-PC.
Right, right.
I mean, there was some PC people here and there you'd run into, but there was a lot of people who weren't like the SJW thing hadn't just like taken over this, but this was coming out at the end of the Bush years, I suppose.
Yeah, yeah.
And uh sorry, losing my train of thought. It must be the hangover. Yeah, it was a strange thing. Sorry, you
Yeah.
talk. You're the guest.
No, so what happened was so I was dating this guy. He dumped. I'm trying to think. I was dating this. Okay, I know. It was Burning Man time. I bought a skirt that looked like Sailor Moon, and I was like, I'm gonna go as Sailor Dude, and I'm gonna be drunk all the time. I'm gonna be this loser dude that didn't get into Sailor Moon, and I'm gonna walk around Burning Man as this guy. Anyway, so I was dating this guy. He dumped me after Burning Man, and I had this skirt, and I started wearing it, and I was like, you know what, the skirt actually feels good, and that kind of started my queer gender mode. And then, do you guys know the queer fairies or the gay fairies or
The radical fairies.
of the fairies?
Oh, absolutely. I have a whole video about them. Did you not see it?
Oh my god, I need to watch that. I
Yeah.
need to watch that.
It's actually a series, but I have only done the first part. It's called The Radical Fairies and Feminism Part 1 in
Oh,
Incompatibility, and how feminism has taken over the radical fairies. It didn't used to be this way. And like Wolf Creek in Oregon is
oh yes.
it's completely taken over by feminists. It's run by a feminist now, this lesbian feminist who is banning all the men, and
Yeah.
it's
Yes.
it's
I
fucking
see that.
crazy. It's crazy. She's a crazy bitch, and
And then my
Uh,
grinder
so-
video.
yeah. It's my longest
Ooh, I'd
video.
like
It's
to
like
see that.
37 minutes long. And
It's a good one.
I'm gonna make a new one soon-ish, called
Mm.
The Radical Fairies and Feminism Part 2, Communism. And
Oh yes.
I'm gonna
yes,
explain
please.
the way that feminism relates to communism and the radical fairies relate to communism, because the current intersectionals are, they're actually really just communists, especially when you look
Yeah.
into the leadership. And there's a number of them in the radical fairy ranks. And so even if they're not like hardcore feminists because they're like gay men, they still will tolerate the feminists because they have that, that link with them. And they keep trying to convince everybody that the radical fairies are supposed to be communist because Harry Hay used to be a member of the Communist Party. Harry Hay was the person who coined the term. He's credited with coining the term radical fairy, and a lot of people say that he's the founder of the radical fairies, which is untrue. There were just separate commune lands that were for gay guys, and Harry Hay was kind of a spokesperson who did a lot of organizing and sort of networked them. But they already existed, and then it sort of became pronounced as a culture. Harry Hay was not the leader; he just was the most vocal and maybe most powerful person. But he was a communist, and he did have a lot of Marxist beliefs. However, he left the Communist Party due to the fact that he was a homosexual. And so when guys try to be like, well, Harry Hay was a communist, so we should all be communists, it's like, he also left the party because communists don't like gay guys, you dumb fuck. And and also, and even further than that, Harry Hay was notorious for being a fucking power tripping authoritarian, and other fairies fucking hated that about him. So it's like there's this whole fucking, and that's what's amazing is that the communist dudes of the radical fairies are just, they act like fucking, they don't, like, they have learned nothing from history. Like they're all authoritarians, they're all fucking power tripper, they'll ban people from forums for wrongthink and like shit like that. And so yeah. Anyhow,
I mean,
you were talking about your story.
I mean, I have to thank the fairies because I was a part of that group. I was wearing makeup and I was wearing skirts, and I thought I found my people. But at the same time, when you tell a white person, when you completely hate a race and you constantly tell them, oh, but not you, fuck all white.
Wait,
Hate
sorry. You cut out for a minute.
they hate white people, and B, I'm ex-military. I have a degree in game design because I'm a fucking idiot, and I used my GI Bill to. I thought I wanted to make video games. I hated making video games, and when I graduated, I was just like, okay, I have a degree, but I don't want to make video games. But anyway, once I joined the fairies, my next logical step in a career was, okay, I have a degree. Um, I was ex-military. Maybe I should join the cops. And the fairies are radical, and they're like, fuck the police. All police are bastards. I hate them. They should all die. But in the back of my mind, I was like, I kind of want to be a cop. That's the next logical step. And, I was around all these stupid, just dumb fairies that were just spreading all this Black Lives Matter hate. And so that kind of helped me escape of like this, especially this one dude. This one dude was just like, I hate all cops. And I was like, my friend is a cop in Texas. I mean, he did nothing wrong. And actually, he was the biggest ally while I was in the army during the Don't Ask, Don't Tell. I'm like, do you hate him? I'm like, he stood up for me and he loved me. And he's like, yeah, fuck all cops. And I was like, all right, I'm out of this group.
Yeah, fuck that.
Fuck this.
Wait, can I ask you a question really, really quick? Can you do animation?
Animation?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I've done it in Adobe Acrobat.
Okay. We'll talk some. Okay, we'll talk. But sorry, keep going on about your story.
Yeah. So anyway, so I left them, decided to apply to the police force. So now I'm applying to OPD, and after that, I started researching. Oh, dude, and Prince of Queens, man, I actually love the podcast I was listening to. It was about shit. It was about being part of the MRA. Man, I can't remember the podcast I was listening to.
Was it Honey Badger one?
No. The little icon was a rainbow flag with a fist.
Oh yeah, that one. That was one of my. God, I can't remember which one that was.
Was that
It number
7?
6. It was 6.
Yeah, it was definitely 6. I forgot what was the main theme, but
We didn't have one, and I just inserted some random name. That's all I remember about it.
dude, and like I can't believe that y'all are MRA too, because what helped me escape from the fairies was watching the Red Pill, and
That is a great film.
it's so good. And now when I bring it up to gay men, and I'm like, listen, the reason why I'm not a feminist or a part of your collective hive mind is that I think men need help, and they start laughing at me, and I'm like, do you not see that I'm telling you men need help and you are laughing at me? Do you not see a problem here?
Are they men?
Yeah,
That
dude,
sickens me.
it was my ex last night, and I was like, listen, 75% of suicides are men.
78.
Yeah, and I was like, do you not see why I'm not a feminist and more helping men? And he's like, I don't get it. And I'm like, suicides.
He better have been really hot.
I know he's not. It made me so mad, man.
A lot of people are just willfully ignorant of what's going on because, and Prince, you've talked about how gay men have almost been conditioned by, or pretty much actually have been conditioned by other gay men to be apolitical if they don't actively identify as liberal, because it's just not.
Yeah.
You either are or you are.
Yeah. And that channel was about why gay men are the most hurt because of feminism. Like gay men, you're totally right. Men, we need more men activists, and gay men are totally more hurt because A, we're rejected by religion and society, and B, men just need help more in particular.
Yeah, it's yeah, we're gay men are sort of getting shafted in a particularly strange. I mean, like there's definitely arguments to be made that straight men are suffering more because they actually have to fucking deal with women, and the court system with women, and that's particularly horrible. But we are left out in the cold in a particular way as gay men, and that's really a shame. Spacepan actually hosted on my channel a bit over a year ago a Q&A session with various female MRAs, including Janice
Nice.
Fiorito and actually Cassie J, the maker of the Red Pill. So we've talked to her.
Yeah, and actually, we're gonna do another one. We're having another Red Pill screening at the Twin Cities Men's Center. I don't know if we're gonna do a live stream because they have like the document with all of like the discussion questions.
Yeah.
And like we thought we'd kind of do that too because then we somebody who might have been in the area who went to the last one, they might have a reason to come to the second one. But so
Wait,
yeah, we're looking
Saucepan-
at maybe the Saturday before Father's Day, but I have to
Saucepan's
confirm
the
that.
MRA anarchist.
That's right. Yep.
But,
That's right,
it's
dude.
Spacepan though, not Saucepan.
Oh, Spacepan done so much, man. I was listening to that podcast. That's awesome, man. I appreciate you.
Thank you. I appreciate it. That's a nice thing to say, but
I don't appreciate you, Spacepan. I haven't appreciated you since our first circumcision debate.
yeah, right.
Spacepan's video, he doesn't have that many videos, but he has some absolute gems.
They're
Like
quite good.
he has the one about the response video to that woman who's talking about girls, we don't rule the world. But would it be better if we did? And it's quite funny. I don't remember what the name of it is, but
yeah, no, that was a weird one, and that chick keeps popping up. Like now that I made a response video to her, I just like keep seeing her. You know, like before it would just be like something you'd watch on YouTube, and it could be like they all look the same. But like after you make a response video, you have to like stare at that person's like face and listen to them say the same things and like loopings over and over again.
Yeah.
But yeah, the thing I'm working on now is I have that book I got actually from the Twin Cities Men's Center library. I just like ganked it from their library. I'm like, I'm taking this, I'm making a thing of it, and they're just like, whatever, do whatever you want. Like, it's women respond to the men's movement, and like it's like the most infuriating book ever because like so many people think that the men's rights movement just like began in 2012. It's been going on for like decades and decades and decades, and people will always be like, well, the men's rights activists don't get taken seriously because they're all so spicy and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, no, bitch, I can give you every single fucking flavor of pill. I line them all up. I have all of them. I get you pink pills. I got red pills. I got darker red pills. I got yellow pills.
What you don't have, though? You don't have a chartreuse pill.
I can find one. I can find you a chartreuse pill if that's what it takes. I use horse pills. Those are my pills. I give people horse pills. Because I'm
why I'm glad I'm here is like I want to like talk about when I was on the left and the tactics I use against people that were I thought were against me. Like when I left the army and I went to school for game design, it was full of kids. It was in San Francisco and it was at Academy of Art, and I was around all these kids that would use gay as a pejorative, and they'd be like, "That's gay." And I would get so fucking triggered. And I'm a big dude. I'm 220. And I would explode on them and I'd tell them how dare them use this. And when they'd be like, and like when they use it, I'd just give them this guilt story of when I was in Texas, I got dragged out of a bar for dancing with another dude. And they told me like, oh, you're not allowed to dance with another dude. And they dragged me out. And I was like, fuck you, get your manager. You have to kick me out. And they dragged me out and stuff like that.
Were you like bumping and grinding?
Yeah. Oh no. We were just dancing like
you were just facing each other.
Actually we were like holding hand in hand and hand on the hip. However dance that was or
yeah. Okay.
But I have to be honest. Like it took me a while to really come to terms with why did this club kick me out, and this kind of reflects on the first podcast I watched of the dude that got kicked out for wearing makeup at the sauna. The bathhouse.
Oh,
Yeah.
the tweaker.
It's not just because you wore makeup and they hated you for wearing makeup. And it wasn't just because I was gay and out for being gay. I went there earlier, like maybe a couple weeks earlier, and with another dude, and he would take the shot. I was underage. He would take the shot and he'd kiss me and put the shot into my mouth. And they caught that. And they're like, "Hey, you're underage, you're drinking, get out." And then I went back and I had my gay shirt on, I had my gay belt buckle on, and then I danced with my friend and was obviously drunk and I was underage. And they're like, "Hey, you're dancing with another dude, that's not allowed, get out." And I was
Oh,
like,
so
homophobia.
they had a problem with you.
Yeah, and I was like, homophobia, you're kicking me out, how dare you? And now that I look back at it, I'm like, no, wait, they knew I was underage, and and they found something to be like, okay, this guy's drunk, he's dancing with another dude, get the fuck out.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, and they kicked me out. Now that I think about it, I'm like, oh, they were actually protecting their ass because I was a hot fucking mess.
You were a liability.
I was a liability. And like that dude, that fucking trans dude at the bathhouse, I'm at least willing to admit that no, I was a fucking hot mess back in the day.
He wasn't even trans. He was just like really effeminate.
He was a case of don't you dare question my gender or whatever.
Did you just assume?
But yeah, I was somewhat like that when I was younger.
We all were.
Right. Yeah.
But people were really homophobic. Like there were people that
There was stuff to get upset about back then.
there were people that just didn't like me that because I was gay, or at least that's what my friends said. But maybe that's not even true. I don't fucking know. But like at the same time, it was really hard to mix with certain circles. Like you could tell they were like slightly uncomfortable by the fact that I was gay and I acted gay and I was very open about being gay because I came out when I was 14. So
Okay.
like I've never tried to like be particularly straight acting, which is weird though because I'm very I look like I'm straight if you see pictures of me, and if you see me in person, if you hear me talking and see I do a little bit of a limp-wristed theatrical kind of a thing, but
we're going to expose Prince of Queens. Like Prince, doesn't everyone needs to know Prince of Queens is really Chuck Norris.
I wish.
They've used a filter for years. Like this is his real voice.
So, but at the same time, I would sometimes use homophobia as an excuse when people did have a reason to be annoyed with me, and I was like, oh, it was really just homophobia, and it's like that
it as a shield.
Yeah, and it's a shame because I think that I wouldn't have been like that if I had gotten properly socialized as a male. In terms of there was a lot of homophobia, during the 1990s, and you end up gravitating towards female friend groups, and then you don't get socialized with males well enough. You don't know how to deal with other males, and other males are, I don't want to say vicious, but they hold each other to pretty high standards regarding certain things.
Men are ball busters.
If you're annoying or do a few, if you violate a few things, guys are going to have a problem with you. And females have their own big long lists of things, but it's easy to think that when guys have problems with you, it must be because you're gay, but there's actually a whole long list of things, and maybe you just don't know what are the things that you don't do around guys. And it's a shame that a lot of the time gay guys don't really know that, and they start playing victim, and it's like, well, maybe you actually just violated a rule. So,
or maybe you're just
annoying. That's what I thought in the army. I had a few straight friends, but then once I left, I kind of just quit having straight friends, and now that I'm at a straight bar, I'm like, why did I have a problem? Well, like, why did I leave the boys' club? I'm back in the boys' club, and it's fine. But I totally see that. That in the '90s, it was kind of hard. It was you made the wrong joke, and everyone's grossed out about that. They're just like, ew. And now it's more like, oh, you made a joke. It's hilarious.
Unless you, well, now transgenders have replaced us. Now, gays are no longer an oppressed group. Now it's like misgendering people. But
Yeah.
like, I can't believe you just assumed my gender. Like that is just so. Oh my god. My prediction though, transgenders in 10 years will be replaced. Otherkin is the upcoming oppressed group.
Dude, cats are totally gay.
Oh, how dare you assume my orientation?
Dude, I totally agree with you. That was my debate against transgender. Was I was like there's people that relate to the sun. There's sun, and I'm like, these are your people. These are people that think that they're part of the sun.
Or yeah, like the fruitarians, the breatharians. Like breatharians might be the craziest people on
Well, then there's
the
also
internet.
star seeds too.
The what?
Star seeds.
I don't think
indigo children and that kind of thing. That can
what's-
come back.
Okay, that's a different kind of crazy. I think that breatharians though have to be the most practically crazy people though, because their entire philosophy, the idea that you can live off nothing but air, it's contradicted every single day. Like you can't actually do that. And all the rationalizations that you have to come up with in order to go against that must make you freaking nuts.
Right? So when I was a part of the gay fairies, I was queer gender, and the thing that always in the back of my mind was they'd be like, "Oh, all the trans meet over here," and they're like, "You, including you," and I've always been 220 of a man. I'm a heavy dude, and I'd walk over there in a skirt, and they'd be like, "Yes, there's a woman inside me, but I'm also a huge dude," and something just didn't feel right. I'm like, they accept me for being a man and a chick, but in the only way I'm a chick is I wear a skirt.
Yeah, there's
Yeah. I always my kind of line with the non-binary thing, like people feel as if they're both male and female or neither male nor female. And it's like, isn't that literally every fucking person that isn't heterosexual? Like, don't we all like kind of feel like that a tiny bit? Like
Oh yeah.
you can bring it down to biology because I mean, at a certain point, like for instance, I don't know if I've mentioned this before, but all children when they're conceived are initially female. Maleness, biologically speaking, is a condition which is created later on in the development of an embryo. Now, that doesn't mean that, women are the masters or something like that. It just means that the default...
And it doesn't necessarily mean that men are evolved women.
No.
But, I mean, there's more of an argument for that, though.
Yeah, but what it means is we are fundamentally... even though men and women are fundamentally different in many important ways, we're also human. We are more alike than we are dissimilar in many, like biologically speaking. And the fact that both men and women share a common beginning and some common chemistry, aside from our DNA and whatnot, there is an argument to be made that no one's 100% whatever. Like for instance, if you had a man that was 100% straight, like just completely no ability to empathize or connect with men on some level, well then we have a word for them: antisocial, like psychopaths, because they can't deal with any other men. Like you have to be able to have some level of minimal attraction to both sexes on even just a subconscious level in order to relate to people like a human being.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh, can I tell a somewhat funny story of me trying to explain what non-binary was to a 60-year-old lesbian?
No, you cannot.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
Anyways, one of my mom's friends, I was trying to explain to her what non-binary was, and she was like not getting it because I'm like, there are women trying to say they're not women but claim to be transgender but not transition. And her response to that was a confused look and just saying, it's like, if you bleed out your pussy, you're a woman. I don't care what you say.
Damn.
Or I'll take her once. I'll take her one further. If you have a pussy, you're a woman. Period.
Yeah.
If one of those fucking non-binary identified women, like I just made the video about that got me the strike, if one of them ever tells you that they're not female, just say, "Shut up, vagina."
Yeah, that
You've got to nip that in the bud.
that was a funny thing too. Is I had so much power in the radical fairies, the radical fairy community, that I was ex-military, I was queer gender. Everyone was just like, "Oh my God, you have so much wisdom to share." And then
Oh yeah, actually made a video about that. And I want you to finish, but I made a video about this phenomenon called it's called the privilege of oppression or something like that. Something like that. It's an old video of mine, and it's how allegedly oppressed people end up becoming privileged within the context of certain social environments. Sorry, but keep going with your show.
Yeah, and actually, when I was 18, I was actually molested, and you just kind of wear these badges on your shoulder, and you're so wise. But then once I became a conservative, I lost my fucking mind. That's it. Like, YouTube brainwashed me. I lost my fucking mind, and don't talk to me anymore. And I was like, oh, okay.
They took your gay
I
card.
I was a kind, or what did Prince of Queen say? We were quines.
We was kangs.
We was kangs.
And then I lost everything. I'm just an insane person now.
They took your gay card back. That's why gig towers, I think, reject the concept of the gay card. The idea that someone else gets to define what gayness means and what's the acceptable expression of it.
Did they ever like threaten you or anything?
Yeah, when I what happened? So I'm actually applying to be part of the Oakland Police Department, and I went on a ride along, and I found out how Black Lives Matter is destroying the police department, and so now I'm an active voice against Black Lives Matter, and so they now think I'm just a racist. Like, if you disagree with Black Lives Matter, you hate black people, and I'm like, no. I just, and so now they think I'm a Nazi. I used to be a go-go dancer, and they're like, don't ever hire him. This one drag queens actually, I think, have the most mental.
Sorry, wait. I just want to say, pics or it didn't happen.
Yeah. All right. But yeah, so drag queens, they're the most mentally challenged. They are the ones that were like, here, I disagree with you, and they doxed me. They tagged me on all these posts. Yeah, and they're like, Max,
who did?
Carne asada or some sort of Mexican plate. I forget the drag queen's name.
Of course, it was a brown drag queen. They have real big chips on their shoulders, and they're not tortilla chips.
Because I wonder if I knew carne asada. Let me look. I'm sorry, I have to go on Facebook now because I knew like every drag queen in San Francisco pretty much.
I only know one drag queen.
I was the biggest advocate for drag queens. I love them, and I was like, the straight culture doesn't understand gay culture. Like, we need to help each other. Drag is this art that is undiscovered. But Jesus Christ, if you disagree with a drag queen, you're a fucking Nazi and you need to die.
Although to be fair, drag queens are themselves in a precarious position since the transgenders are claiming that they're a mockery of their identity.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Drag queens, oh my God, I hate the drag scene right now, like, to be perfectly honest. I enjoyed it a number of years ago.
It was fun.
Yeah, but like, okay, every fucking gay guy is a drag queen now. Like, every gay guy is so
There's
fucking
no art
annoying.
to it whatsoever.
And then also there's something about drag that just makes gay guys fucking stupid. And I think it
I
has to
think it's
do
the
with like
hairspray.
I think yeah, and like how long it takes to put together a look and how many outfits. Because the thing is about drag is that you can literally you're never supposed to do the same look. You very very unless you do drag 5 nights a week. It's a big no to like repeat the same dress even more than once a year. So
It's
like
dumb.
yeah it, drag queens are always shopping. They're always thinking about their looks, and then
Yeah.
the but but ultimately, because of such things, they don't have time to like be intelligent.
Yeah.
'Cause,
Right.
You don't have
uh,
time to read like an interesting article about whatever if all you care about is like what I need something to go with these shoes.
yeah,
Right.
it's like hyper muscular guys are generally pretty dumb, and I think if for no other reason than the time that they spend all their time working out.
And they're tired all the time because
Yeah,
they're in the gym.
Well, you
What I
either have
love about RuPaul's Drag Race is it's bringing San Francisco to light of their stupid hippiness. Like New York is, are you good? No, you suck. Then you're not getting the show. But San Francisco is more like, did you put lipstick on? Oh, come in, girl. Oh yeah. Oh, you lip sync. You're wonderful. You're beautiful. Did you Grace? No, you suck. Like all of RuPaul's Drag Race is New York queens because they will chew you up and spit you out if you're not fucking high polished. But San Francisco is all like, "Did you put on a bra? All right, get on stage. You're a drag queen now."
Maximilian, did you go by Maximilian? You never actually introduced yourself, by
Oh,
the
just
way.
Max.
But
Yeah,
Max,
just Max. Yeah.
I have a question for you as an Oaklander perspective, Oakland PD.
Woo.
What is your opinion about what is it called? La Muerte, the the really terrible coffee shop that says cops are not welcome.
Oh man, that that makes me so angry. That dude, that like so I am constantly vocal. I went on a police ride along and it was a white guy and he was so awesome and I had so much fun and like I didn't even want to leave. We went on all these calls and you realize that cops are like bartenders. I'm a bartender now. Cops are like bartenders. They have their regulars of like beat his girlfriend and now we're back because he beat someone else and we're going to arrest him and we even so one time it was crazy. One time we were in this area where it was a black homeowner and he was called the cops were called on him and we're like, hey, can you turn on your music? And he was turning it down. He's like, I'm sorry. And he was putting his Christmas decorations on. He's like, I was just trying to like have music and put up my decorations. I wish the neighbors would have talked to me. And we're like, that's fine. And we were talking to him all good. And then all of a sudden, some ghetto black people next door got into a fight, like like just a like boyfriend versus girlfriend, just all out brawl, like yelling at each other. And the cop got involved. And and they refused to talk to the cop. They refused to be civil. They immediately pulled the victim route, and instead of talking to the cop, they went to the black dude that we were originally talking to, and they're like, "Are you safe? Are you safe right now? Are you safe?" And I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe what was going on. But I think I kind of got segued. What was the original?
Drag queens.
Oh, drag queen. Wait, drag
Well,
queen.
you were saying that you got doxxed and for
Wow, I'm sorry. Man, whoa, damn.
you were talking about your opposition to Black Lives Matter, I guess, was what you were sort of talking about before.
Yeah. Oh, I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
because our
Yeah,
cats asked you about that shop, so that was what we.
Oh yeah, I got so the reason I kind of segued is because like I was vocal about that, and they immediately, especially the drag queen culture, was was just like, if you don't stand for Black Lives Matter, you're just a racist. And they're the first ones. They were the first ones to like tag me with DJs and be like, "Don't hire this Nazi," and I am completely anti-Nazi. My mother is from, and I'm like, how? Why do you
From
think?
where? You cut out.
My mother's from the Seychelles Islands. It's part of the African continent.
Oh.
Above Madagascar, the Seychelles Islands.
Okay.
So it was owned by the French for a bit, and I mean I have no idea why I'm so white, but yeah, I'm like, my mother is from Africa and I'm gay, and they're like, it doesn't matter, you're a Nazi, and I'm like, I have cousins in the Seychelles called Anik and Betoit, and they're black, and they're like, it doesn't matter, you're a Nazi, and I'm like, I don't understand what I'm doing wrong here.
It's because Nazi, much like the words rape and violence, have been completely divorced from their actual meaning by SJWs. If words can be violence and looking at someone can be rape, then Nazi can be anything.
Yeah, right? Yeah, no, I'm just like, listen, I don't agree with Black Lives Matter. Hate me.
You cut out again.
That's just like, I didn't believe with a lot of what Black Lives Matter stood for, and now I'm hated, or people hate me, and it's fucking dumb. It's not like I hate black people. I don't like Black Lives Matter. And
No, it's a political movement. Like saying that you don't like that is just no.
Well,
Yeah.
then the anecdote you told me kind of reminds me of the news that had gone down, I guess earlier today, where like there's the Sarah Huckabee Sanders, April Ryan thing, where at one point Sarah Huckabee was like, "Excuse me, like, you know, like don't speculate." Or she said you don't know me, right? And then the you know, this reporter is later saying, you know, when you say things like that, those are like fighting words. There are circumstances where that would lead to like a physical altercation, right? And it's like, Jesus Christ, like,
yeah,
and like it's like so like depicts those two like mindsets, whereas like someone would just like hear like, oh, I heard these words, these are my trigger words, now I get to fight, and it's just like, why? Like, I don't get it. Like,
yeah.
Like, why would you prefer to fucking fight? Like, why? How would you not prefer, like, oh, here's an outlet to just like, let's de-escalate, calm the fuck down. Like, who wants to fight? Like,
Yeah.
so
SJWs.
My cousin was like, he posted this thing on Facebook, and he was like, if you think blue lives matter, you're an idiot. If you say all, and then he was like listing all this like white lives matter, all this stuff, and he's like, you're a fucking idiot if you say anything but black lives matter. And so I went ham and I posted all these things. I'm like, I'm very educated on Black Lives Matter, and I was like, listen, the co-founder of Black Lives Matter loves what's her name, Anita. Anyway, it was the lady that shot.
Yeah,
The
the one she fled to Cuba. I don't remember her name.
Yeah, and they chant her, and there's videos of her of the praising her and loving her.
Asada Shakur.
Asada Shakur, there we go. And I was like, listen, I'm like, this is why Blue Lives Matter are on top of Black Lives Matter, because they praise a cop killer, they love her, and then all of a sudden he just twisted it to, oh, I meant the saying, not the movement. And I'm like, what? What's saying?
You're a liar. You got caught in something and you're just covering.
Yeah, no. The people who act like they can divorce the statement from the movement, or as if it's not like organized or anything. It's like, oh, it's not organized. It's just organized. Yes, it fucking is.
It's a
No,
culture.
I'm not
it's
sure
legitimate. Like, oh, sorry.
Who gets the money for those fucking T-shirts? Like,
Yeah,
Apparently some guy
yeah,
in
and then that's
Australia.
what I begged them to. I'm like, where does the money go? There's no scholarships. There's no, like, you can buy so much from Black Lives Matter, but what do they give back?
Yeah.
Where's the scholarships? Where
and
are
what
the?
have they accomplished?
Scholarships.
Yeah.
Well, they've
They
made
went
some
to
very
Starbucks.
entertaining videos on YouTube where they tried to block the freeway and people run over them. But
Yeah.
I certainly don't watch those whenever I'm feeling upset.
Scholarships. Scholarships, though, but why would they want black people getting a white education?
Yeah, right.
Well, the other thing is, the other thing that I always just bugs me as a MRA is Black Lives Matter is a feminist group, but its stated purpose is something that would allegedly help out black men, and yet they can never admit that black men are the ones that are having all the violence done to them.
Right. Well,
Yeah.
actually,
Well,
in
and they
the,
talk about intersectionality all the time, and like that's the best example is black men. Everybody acts like it's black women, but it's like no, it's black men. Like, anyway.
Yeah, I've even seen intersectionals try to say that I don't know if it was because I said something. It likely was, but I was like, "This is a movement that's supposed to benefit Black men, but you know, it's headed by women, and um, you know, nobody ever admits that that this is something that distinctly affects Black men." And this fucking girl was like, "Actually, Black women get attacked or killed by police much more, but the media covers it up or some shit." And it's
Yeah,
like,
oh my God.
that's
there's
a load of
nothing.
shit.
That's
When
the least true thing that I've heard this decade.
Yeah, dude. I mean, like, there's actually one dude. Like, so I mean, I have to admit, I do get on long debates on comments on Facebook, but it's because I'm worried about the gay community. And like, so
we
there's
all
this
are.
one guy. Yeah, right. There's this one guy that had said that Trump was a racist, and me and this other guy was also gay. And I'm like, do you not see that two gay men are trying to tell you Trump is not a racist? Linked, and I'm like, please prove factually that Trump is a racist. He linked an opinion piece, and I'm like, okay, you fucked up once. You linked an opinion piece, and he's like, okay, well, there's no evidence that Trump is a racist, and I'm like, okay, so why are you saying this? And then he linked a poll. 56% of Americans think Trump's a racist. So then I found out that the poll was 1,000. It was a sample size of 1,000.
Mhm.
And I'm like, here, this is fake news. I'm like, they sampled 1,000 and they are trying to represent all of America. And he's like, what's the problem with that? And I'm like, I don't know how to debate against this. You're just, I don't know what to say again.
I'm surprised he didn't accuse you of internalized homophobia, because when in doubt, they always just say, well, you have internalized insert here, and that is just the defeat of your argument in their
A sample
minds.
size of 1,000 represents America. I should have known.
Mhm.
I think that you know they largely have. Okay, I know that my friend, you know, he was on last week, Liberal Hammer. He gets accused of having internalized homophobia a lot. But I never get accused of that, oddly enough. And I think it's because of the fact that intersectionals don't care about homophobia anymore because they're fucking homophobic or anti-gay.
True.
They hate gay men more than anyone. Like, and so
Reliability.
instead they'll call you a racist or a misogynist or a transphobe. But they won't say that it's because you have internalized any.
You're right. That's so like 2004.
Yeah.
Since I actually do a lot of arguing on like Facebook, they'll see like my appearance and it's like very nerdy, right? And then they'll see me posting like MRA shit or like even like more MGTOW oriented kind of positions. And of course they assume like, oh, this kid's a fucking incel. And then they like totally unload all of those styles of arguments of like, you just can't get a girlfriend. You just like fucking bitter about women, blah, 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 right? And I'll kind of let them do that because it's really fun to pull out the gay card like at the end. And it's like, you're so stupid. Like,
Yeah. Dude, I mean, actually, I actually started talking to my ex, and he's half black, and I was worried about my politics because it was like 3 years ago, and I'm like, I'm kind of a new man now. But what started me getting pissed off was I was like, hey, I'm not a feminist anymore. I'm more of a men's rights activist, and that's what really turned me off. And I was like, listen, I'm gonna tell you some facts where men need help. And I told him, and he just started laughing. And I'm like, how? I'm like, 75% of men are suicides. And he was just
78.
like, I don't, 78. Yeah, I'm like, and he's like, I don't see why they need help. And I'm like, this is why I'm no longer with you. I'm like, why is this funny? This should be like horrifying.
Always remember to say both the 78% of suicides and also, and this is something that should go along with it, is the only 40% of university enrollment are male. Because those things are things that can affect literally every guy that we know. And they also can probably, when you are a male that goes to university and you are a minority and you're also a persecuted minority, the way that young men are on university campuses, don't you think that that's likely to lead to suicide, or if that's how you're entering into manhood, dealing with shit like that. Like, why do you think so many? I mean, there's lots of reasons why men are killing themselves, like especially.
And you made a
guys
good
who
point
went-
too. And you made a good point. Like, and if you're a gay man, on top of being persecuted, you're persecuted even more.
Yeah.
Jesus.
And not to mention, like, coming back to college, like Title IX, how any like there have they actually fixed that yet, or is it still just the same? Like,
I think
Oh,
that
God,
it's
no.
I think that they fixed it technically on the federal, because it was one of these things where Title IX was demanding that university staff do this specific way of kangaroo court trials where young men
Starchy version.
wouldn't actually get trials. Basically, they got a few components of a trial, but not the important parts.
There's a lot of
And
fucked up shit in Title IX. I'll get
Well-
into that in a second.
but they were saying that they had to do those things or they would withhold federal funds from universities that didn't comply. So Betsy DeVos got rid of that. She I believe changed it. But there are some schools that are saying that they're going to keep up with the kangaroo courts.
because
Ooh.
it's for women.
Yeah, which I feel like the Trump administration should withhold federal funds from those schools because fuck that.
Right.
Hmm.
Are we still doing the political compass, or have we gone too long?
No, I
No,
think
we're
we
gonna
should do
next
that
week.
next week.
Okay, next week. Okay.
Oh, and
Can we talk about Danielle Bergoli?
You always want to talk about Eurovision.
No,
But
she's
that-
Eurovision. We'll talk about Eurovision next week also because that's when it's happening. Like a week from Saturday, a week from today.
You should
Well,
just
so
drop
is
NRA
Danielle
and become-
Bergoli? She's the one that got in the fight with the Cash Me Outside with and she was on
No,
the same.
she is the Cash Me Outside girl.
Oh, she's the same one. Okay.
Yes.
Oh, but it didn't. I thought.
Whoa, Vicky is starting.
Whoa,
to
Vicky.
feud with
Yeah,
her.
didn't she have a new song come out?
Yeah,
the
Whoa,
Catch
Vicky
Me
did a
Outside
diss
girl?
track against her, and Bergoli, she has like a new song every like couple of months. She's like really prolific, and like it's all really really good.
Well, that
Like,
means
every single one of her songs is really good.
that whole little fight was probably totally staged and orchestrated, so that to get people to watch the music
It's
video.
a good year to be alive.
Maybe, but when you look at kind of the production value of Whoa Vicky's thing, I think very likely she's kind of going rogue, trying to kind of poach off of Bergoli's success a little bit.
Oh my gosh.
But this shit's important, okay? Because like just like how
Yeah.
the Scouts are important to shaping the youth of America, like what happens with pop music and our singers and stuff, like it is important. Like look at Kanye West. Kanye West just like changed the world. Kanye West got to basically like do what like Trump handed the reins of all of the media over to Kanye West for a weekend, and like we just got to watch that happen. And like that's the power of like stupid crap in the media. Like Danielle Bergoli's gonna matter
I did
whether you
actually,
like it or not.
I actually did want to, believe it or not, talk about Kanye West if we had time.
Yeah,
Oh please.
But like the thing, my question that I want to ask about, so like, because Sargon and a couple other people have already done a really good take about how the main reason people are so upset with like Don Lemon and all the other cucks are angry at Kanye because he's gone off the reservation and he's not, doing the appropriate speaking points. Even though Kanye's arguments are actually fairly good, if not a little eccentric, because he's Kanye. My question is, do you think that if I'm trying to think, I don't think we have a gay Kanye level celebrity. Like who's whoever the current biggest like gay celebrity is right now.
fucking Sam Smith.
Sam Smith.
Paul?
No, it's something a little bit more like I don't know, like Zachary Quinto or someone like I don't know, not Zachary Quinto, but
Might
like
be Ellen DeGeneres. Might be Ellen DeGeneres.
okay, that's a great example. Like if Ellen DeGeneres went off the reservation, like if she was saying something about if she decided to talk about the rape court situation on universities, would she be similarly cast aside?
Well, she's a white woman, so probably.
Right, yeah, right.
She would become deeply problematic all of a sudden.
Well, I think
Well, everybody will be cast aside if they do something wrong. Like a black lesbian in a wheelchair would not last if she, said Blue Lives Matter.
Yeah, right.
Well, Wendy Williams every now and again says politically incorrect stuff, and she survives. She's got that blackness going for her.
Yeah, but she's a straight black woman, and if there's one thing that black women do is, this is going to sound a little racist, but like black women are very good at sticking to their own. Like if a black woman goes off the reservation to a certain extent, as long as like she's got enough other people who are going in the same direction as her, she'll be okay. And talk show divas have that cult of personality, which is maybe they're probably the only people that can get away with saying eccentric stuff, because once you start watching those shows every day, like there's a hardcore group of people that are just like
Yeah.
no matter what they say.
Was Wendy Williams the one that was in the Red Pill? Her show was like
Yes. She was there. Was like women? Should we trick? Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Do you
Even
guys
like men clapping in the audience too? That's the most disgraceful part.
Yeah.
They're gay, so it doesn't matter.
I think the most disgraceful part is that there were men in the audience.
Yeah.
Well, don't forget the infamous Sharon Osbourne clip too, where they're talking about the guy who had his like dick cut off and put in the blender, and
Oh.
they were laughing about it. It was so hysterically funny.
Do you guys watch RuPaul's Drag Race or?
I
I haven't been watching.
I have. I've watched a few like episodes here and there, and then if somebody like explained to me like not only they're like it's scripted, and I'm like, yeah, I know it's scripted. They're like, no, it's completely scripted, and I'm like, why does Santa not real anymore? But it's
So
great when they make
I
music.
was-
I love it when the drag queens make pop videos and music and stuff.
Yeah, the only
Oh
time
yeah. So I was a little upset, but then I went back to watching it because I just didn't want to be one of those liberals where it's like, you offended me and now I have to cut you off from my life. But at the same time, RuPaul had a special guest, and when she has special guests, they either judge the runway show, they do something to help support the show. But she had a special guest for no fucking reason of Nancy Pelosi. And Nancy Pelosi came onto the show and was like, hey, I'm just reminding y'all to vote, and then left and did nothing. And everyone's just like, oh my God, Nancy Pelosi, I love her. She's amazing. And then at the end of the episode, they're like, don't forget to vote.
Well,
And I'm like,
you don't know that she did nothing. I mean, she could have contributed to pantsuits.
I was so mad. I was like, and I was in Oakland downtown, and everyone was applauding her. And I'm like, how am I supposed to feel? I hate
that
Nancy
bitch.
Pelosi.
That's how you're supposed to feel better.
Oh my God, it was so weird. And originally I tweeted at RuPaul and I was mad, and I'm like, I'm never gonna watch you again. And I was like, I'm just becoming another liberal where I got triggered and I have to boycott you now. I'm like, yeah, I'll just keep watching.
Well, so if anyone can survive, it'll be RuPaul. Because he didn't remember when they tried to crucify him for saying tranny, and he was like, "Nope, I'm gonna say it."
I'm gonna say. And also, actually, did you hear about the recent one where they were trying to boycott him?
Oh no, what's the recent one?
Yeah, I heard, but I forget.
So the reason is it would a trans man make it onto RuPaul's Drag Race? So he's like, if you're a trans, no, a trans woman make it on the show. And so, RuPaul acknowledged that trans women are now women and was like, no, you can't be on my show because you're a woman. And the gay scene flipped out. And I'm like, wait, RuPaul's giving you what you want. You're a woman now. You can't make it onto her show.
No, you see, he lost because he was like, you cannot apply a coherent standard to what SJWs want. They want what they want when they want it. And if they want something completely different next week, well, they want it.
They want, and I was like, wait, RuPaul's giving you what you want. He doesn't put women on the show. He's saying trans women are women. How dare you? How dare you say trans women are women?
You know, they always find a really cute way to couch everything they say. It's like, well, of course trans women are women, but blah blah blah, word salad, the intersectionality, people of color, white men, this, like, and then it's done.
Yeah, I know. It's kind of funny. It's like trans women are women now. Lesbians suck off some girl's cock, but it's like, but trans women are not women when it comes to drag shows.
Yeah, please.
I mean, all they need, it's just a question of how much word salad, how many post-isms, and, you know, what other
And
are
phobias.
necessary.
Don't
Yes.
forget the phobias.
Yeah, oh, how could I forget? But so phobias, isms, and posts. That's all you need.
Also, in the land of phobias, I'm kind of surprised I'm not blocked by like Ash Hardell and all of her heartbeats, considering I basically I went off on her a couple weeks ago. So yeah, I'm surprised that entire sphere of like social media hasn't like crucified me.
How'd you go off on her? What'd you do?
Basically, she was like, some other lesbian was like, oh yeah, lesbians are only attracted to biological women or post-op trans women. And she's like, oh, but that's gatekeeping. And I'm like, bitch, you did that to bisexuals and fucked us over, so fuck you, basically.
Yeah.
And then he sent her a raw pig.
Oh no, and then I made 2 videos about it because I'm such a petty bitch at times.
Oh, dude. Well, that's another thing about stupid gay culture is I actually have some bisexual friends too, and they hate the bis, especially bisexual men. It's like you're either sleeping with men or you hate gay men. It's like if you sleep with a woman, how dare you? It's so weird.
They're all on their out right now, though. I mean, honestly, like bisexual, homosexual, lesbian, like we're all being replaced by transgender and pansexual people. Pansexual is the current approved because bisexual and homosexual both operate on the binary, man, woman.
Yeah.
But since gender is irrelevant, well, of course you need pansexuals.
Dude, to me, pansexual is the biggest cuck of them all. To me, pansexual is like, hey, I don't know what I'm into. You just tell me you're into me, and whatever you want to express yourself as, I'm down. I'm game. Just tell me you like me. Tell me.
I'll sleep with anything. I'll fall in love with a blender if you identify as one.
I just want you to tell me you like me, and I'll fall in love with you.
Pansexual is really generally just I'm a celebrity that wants a week's worth of headlines written about me.
Yeah, I describe pansexuality as I want to say I'm bisexual, but I don't want any of the shit that comes along with it because feminists will like persecute me into saying I'm pansexual or whatever or queer. So I'm just gonna like go with like the easy baggageless one until the inevitable backlash when people finally say, yeah, fuck all of you, we're burning your shit down.
My best friend, one of his roommates that he used to live with, he was this weird dude that said he was pansexual. He also used to say he had 180 IQ, which was definitely not true, but because that would mean he was smarter than Stephen Hawking or something to that level. But he said he was pansexual, and I was like, okay, so what does that?
Oh, was this the sociopath guy?
Oh no. No, the sociopath dude, no, he's gay, all gay. Like that's about the only thing he is 100% consistent about is being gay. But no, so this dude said he was pansexual. I'm like, so what, you're bisexual? He's like, no, man, like I could fall in love with anyone. Like I fall in love with the person, not with the, with the genitalia. I'm like, okay, so do you have a preference? He's like, well, I'm working on that. I'm like, you're working on your sexual preference. So what? What are you saying exactly? That you're not willing to say anything, but that you might do anything? I don't understand.
Yeah.
He stopped talking to me after
it's very weird. It's just like you don't want to admit that you don't know what you want, and you just want some aggressor to be like, hey, we're dating now. And oh yes, I don't care who you are. I like you.
Yeah, I don't identify as a you. I identify as a group of people, and I thank you to respect my they plural singular pronouns. I identify as the nation of Persia.
Yeah. I was at this this karaoke night in the Castro. Do you guys know the Rubin Report?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, so he did. Okay, I'm a little psycho. So he did a show in San Francisco, and I freaked, and I was like, maybe he'll go to the Castro, and I can catch him there. And so I went and partied in the Castro and bounced from bar to bar, thinking I'd catch Ruben. but obviously not. Of course, he wouldn't go to the Castro.
That's hostile
he
territory.
probably, yeah. I would go somewhere where I would not be around too many gays because there'd be some fucking psycho that would probably like freak out and yell at him.
I know, right? But anyway, so that led me to this open mic, or not open mic, this karaoke night, and I was like, okay, I'll just stay here. And there was this very like butch looking dude, and he liked all the songs I was choosing because I wasn't choosing like all Britney Spears. And so I went to hit on him, and I was like, "Oh, that, good looking dude." And I'm like, "Are you gay?" Because he was like very masculine, very like metal looking, and he said he was that
Cut
he
out.
that he's an opportunist, that he like he's not really gay, but if the right thing and okay, bye. And I was like, why make it this complicated, dude? I'm like, if you're into dudes, I'm here. Let's fuck. You're an opportunist. What do I have to do? Do a magic show for you?
Scavenger hunt.
Yeah, it's so fucking dumb.
I actually think that the current mode of acceptable hitting on people, like the only way to make a feminist type happy is if you have to do an interpretive dance of your life history, sexual preferences, and if they respond with a complimentary dance, then you can dance together.
Yeah.
Did you have sex with him?
No, dude. I mean, as soon as he told me, he's like, I'm an opportunist and bisexual. I was like, fuck this. I mean, do you like me or not, dude? Just tell me yes or no.
Hey, Cats, I think you have when you're not
Someone
talking, like a little it sounds like a cat pawing at like a cord.
That's actually not one of my cats, believe
That's
it or not.
actually me.
Is it? Oh, I'm sorry. I'm just looking at like the.
You just
the dot
assume
button
that
thing.
because I am a cat and I have 8 cats and you hear a cat in the background, that's my cat.
Yeah, I just hear this is some
dare
cat
you.
bullshit.
So I am. You know what?
This is the patriarchy at its work again.
You know what? Like
Now it's gonna start pushing stuff off the table.
You have triggered me on so many levels. Like feline oppression is real.
That reminds me, I need to get my cat shaved soon. I should vlog it because it's really fun.
Why are you gonna shave your cat?
Why do
No,
you-
he loves it. He loves it because he is very, very, very fluffy, and like sometimes he gets kind of dreaded, and like it gets really hot out. So you get him shaved. Like I get him the lion shave, so he has like a big fluffy mane and like a little lion poof. And then he starts acting like a lion too. Like he knows
Oh
he
my
looks like a
God.
lion.
Did you just
He loves
assume your
it.
cat's
Photos.
gender?
I need to.
That's why you should have another cat so they can groom each other.
Yeah, we've tried that. My cat's a bossy little kittler in his appearance and demeanor, and we used to have like a black cat here too, and like we had the apartment segregated like apartheid.
that is so racist. But you heard it here, folks. Though the next week we're going to have the patriarchy. Like it's going to be all cats all the time.
Okay, next week though, like we have to talk about Eurovision because it's literally gonna be happening
Okay, you know-
tomorrow, and like it's the gay Olympics. It's literally the gayest event on the planet.
I'm
will
going to say
talk-
this, Spacepan. Like you really should just drop the whole MRA. Like red pill circumcision thing and just dedicate yourself to your obvious full-time passion of Eurovision.
Yeah, well, it's all connected. It's all connected.
I would like to see this on a chart. Like if you could make a cosmological statement, like a system, if you will.
It's gonna be like a VR augmented reality flowchart.
Mhm. Hey, you're a philosophy major. I'm sure you could do like a very convincing, philosophical, ontological justification for how Eurovision and MRAs are connected.
Oh, totally.
That's right.
It would make
You're-
great reading.
You're in Europe, right?
No, I'm American.
Oh, okay.
Like, it literally makes zero sense that I like Eurovision, but it's like a spectacle. Like there's nothing like it.
It makes total sense if you know Spacepan, because Spacepan is if I had to choose a food to symbolize like his mind, it would be jambalaya. And I mean that with love.
I don't even know what jambalaya is. I've just like
It's
heard
just
the word. I just
It's,
like never.
it's just
New
a-
Orleans food.
It's just a big stew of various ingredients that it just basically
Oh,
whatever.
yeah. It's like
rice.
paella.
And
Yeah.
it has like rice
has a-
and shrimps
shrimp
and pork and like
It's You can
Yeah,
put
looks good to
anything.
me.
You can put anything in jambalaya, basically.
Oh my
It's
god,
basically
I want to
so-
make a jambalaya pizza. I would totally put this on top of a Little Caesars pizza and then eat it.
Yeah, jambalaya is basically like a bunch of people in the bayou got drunk and just threw stuff in a pot one day.
And
that would-
instead of saying that it was just leftovers, they decided to make it into like a dish.
Yeah, and that
Somebody
comment would
commented
probably-
earlier, they were like, I love how American food just means McDonald's or soul food.
Oh yeah,
We're
that
the
was
best country.
that was Jeremy. But freaking so Eurocentric. We have more food than that. Just most of it's made by ConAgra.
Or Mexico.
Sorry?
Or Mexico.
Yeah.
Or
I'm-
Mexico.
No, I mean, anyone who says Americans don't have food, like they either haven't been to California or New York, because and I'm not saying that as some sort of coastal supremacist, like just literally, there's just so much food in those two states, and people are obsessed with food here and there.
Oh yeah, totally.
Isn't New York's whole con just to like pretend that nobody else has had a fucking bagel though?
I will say this: when I spent 2 weeks in New York with my sister, because she got a graduation present, and she broke up with her boyfriend, and they weren't going to let her go to New York. My parents were going to send her to New York unescorted for 2 weeks, because that's a terrible Lifetime movie waiting to happen. So I got to go, and I'll say this for New York: their food is not as good as Californians. New Yorkers,
Okay,
sorry,
no,
you can
it's
suck
not.
it. Now,
It's not overall. You have to go to a really expensive restaurant to get good food in New York.
this is what I'll say: California food, like in terms of actual quality and like creativity and just the overall food culture, is better, because the best restaurants at the end of the day are about food, whereas in New York the best restaurants are more about ambiance and who's eating next to you. But big qualifier here, I will say that California street food pales in comparison to New York City street food. I mean, like the hot dogs and the pizza, the fact that you can just throw a stone and randomly hit some pizza parlor with no name that sells like a $2 slice that's the size of your hand, and it's just delicious.
Totally. Yeah.
So that's what New York does better: street food and just overall, noshing, munching, all of that. Whereas California does better food, finger, way up your nose kind of thing.
That's also
Yeah,
another
right.
thing that I experienced moving back from Reno, is that at least where I live, we don't have a whole lot of cheap food like that isn't McDonald's or anything. But it's like in Nevada, it's like if you like go in any direction for like a half a mile, you will find like the best, cheapest food you can imagine. I mean, there's not a lot of variety. I mean, it's basically going to be Mexican, Chinese, or sushi, but it's a lot cheaper and a lot better than anything I found immediately near me.
I would imagine you have a
can
lot
I-
of diners and stuff too.
What, Nevada?
Can I ask what brought y'all here? Like, how did you guys get here?
What was the beginning of the Gaytriarchy?
Yeah, how did you guys go your own way? Or
Well, the
I think
They're
in
all
Princeton
here
Springs, we
because of-
found each other through like anti-SJW groups.
oh wait, I have to admit, after I watched the Red Pill, that was
You were
I was
Wait,
like-
say it again.
after I watched the Red Pill. That was my first. I was quivering, my fingers were shaking, and I was like, "Why do people?"
How did you
hate-"
see it?
How did I watch that?
You probably bought it on YouTube since you can't get on Netflix or
I
anywhere
did.
else.
I did buy it on YouTube.
But why? Like, what prompted you to see it?
I can't remember, but I remember after that searching why do people hate feminism, and YouTube loves trolling feminism. That is so fucking hilarious.
But wait, you said you were quivering after watching the movie and didn't finish the thought. I think.
Oh no! I watched the Red Pill, but that was when I was SJW, and I was like,
Oh, you
I
were
was like-
enraged.
I was afraid to ask YouTube why like feminism fails. I'm like, why do people hate feminism? I was afraid to ask that, and then it was just a fucking land shit.
I can only imagine what that would be like to be a feminist and then to watch the Red Pill. Which, if you watch the Red Pill and you have like even just a few neurons firing in your head and you care even a tiny bit
Yeah.
about intellectual integrity, there is no way to watch that and not be completely shaken.
I was crying, dude. I cried after that movie. I was like, I'm a fucking idiot. I'm such an idiot.
Hey,
Yeah, I mean, like in terms of gendered issues, men's rights issues, they're all one move checkmates. Like there's just no justification for how little attention and how little concern people have for these issues. Like any of them independently just completely dwarf everything that the women's movement's talking about. And like I don't understand why like more people don't put it in those terms. It's just like
well, you either have to be
like really, really nice to the women's movement for some reason. And I'm like, why?
because when women cry,
Yeah.
when women cry, people or scream or whatever, men have been conditioned. Even gay guys, like women start crying and we immediately perk up.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, you have to meet people where they are at. Like if you realize that somebody is only going to debate with you, make them look like a fool. But if you think that there's a chance that you could get through to someone, there is reasons to be nice. You know, like I have my famous live stream that I always talk about with the young feminist, where I literally did talk her out of being a feminist. She wrote me the next day and said that she wasn't a feminist after talking to me. And
Dude, nice.
Yeah, and you made that video recently too. Like there was the rules of like internet discourse.
Nice.
oh yeah.
So is that kind of what brought you guys here? Maybe
Well, I have a particularly long story of things, but for me it was the feminists taking over radical fairy culture.
Okay.
Because once I realized that Wolf Creek was completely dominated by feminists, and they were actively booting out the men all the time. And because Wolf Creek used to be a land that didn't allow women on it at all. And
oh my god, yeah.
so it was like, wait, this is messed up. Like, how do you feel possibly justified banning all the fucking men? And I learned that the reason why they felt justified was because of feminism. And so I started really researching feminism, and the more I researched feminism, the less sense it made, because I actually have a pretty good critical eye in terms of ideologies and stuff.
Right.
And so I was like reading it more and more, and I was it got to the point where I wanted to believe that it was good, but I was finding less, and I couldn't find any particularly strong evidence that it was actually about equality, because I didn't see them talking honestly. Like, I was looking for the mythical feminist article that would admit that there's such thing as female privileges. Like, I wanted to find that, because I felt like, okay, they're so obsessed with talking about privileges. Well, why don't we admit to the times in which females are privileged?
Yeah.
But I couldn't find that at all. I found a few that were like, things like saying things where they would say that female privileges aren't actually privileges. Like if a cop doesn't give a woman a traffic ticket because she has nice boobs, that's still objectification. So it's not actually a privilege, or some dumb shit.
Patriarchy.
Yeah,
I'll show my tits.
So stupid shit like that. And so what I realized is that this is actually absolutely intellectually dishonest, but I didn't know that there was sort of an other side. And then I finally found one of Blair White's first videos.
Oh shit, Blair.
Yeah, because and I found her when she had less than 5,000 subscribers, and
Wow.
Karen Meyer signal boosted her. Like, I don't think anyone remembers that. That was how she first started to get an audience.
Was what?
It was when Theron Meyer was kind of signal boosting her.
Oh yeah, back when they were friends.
Wow.
And so Blair White had a whole video called "Female Privilege," and I was like, oh my god. And then through Blair, I ended up eventually looking at men's rights. Like, I didn't know how much was happening on YouTube. Most people in Blue Pill America, which I was still in Blue Pill America. I was always sort of a purple pill person, just because I'm very independent minded, but I was, overall Blue Pill America. And I discovered YouTube and eventually decided that I might as well listen to what MRAs have to say. And oh, it turns out that they're right about everything.
Yeah. Yeah, man.
For me, it was I'd already read Christina Hoff Sommers in college
Ooh.
because I came in and out. I'm like one of the only gays that went back into the closet, even though I kept sucking dick on Craigslist, so that didn't make sense. But anyway, I read Christina Hoff Sommers, so I already knew a lot of the feminist arguments, like a woman is raped every 45 seconds or whatever, was completely bullshit.
Yeah.
But as far as me becoming a YouTuber and meeting Prince of Queens and all that, I'd already watched Prince of Queens on and off, in IRL. But I became a YouTuber when I read the an article on The Verge about how Grindr was becoming more gender inclusive, and I snapped. It's like this is I totally Captain Jean-Luc Picard and like this far, no farther. And then I didn't have a computer or anything. I took my phone. I made, by comparison now, a fairly amateurish video, and I spammed Prince of Queens channel with it in the comments, like right after he put up one of his videos. I don't remember which one. And thankfully it got through the spam filter, and thankfully Prince saw it and liked it. And then we became collaborators.
Nice.
Yeah.
Actually, so I had a dream of being a YouTube channel as well, and
I started.
the day, oh yeah, I'd love to. The day I started, I went to Best Buy and bought a nice camera, and I was gonna start like talking about my experience, and I
Don't show your face.
yeah, oh yeah,
No,
So-
no. If you live in Oakland, you should avoid that. The fucking
Oh.
Antifa fuckers will.
Oh, they're terrible.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. So, but what was funny was I grew up, and everyone said I was sensitive, and I'd get triggered to the fact that people telling me I was sensitive, and I'd explode on them. They're like, "You don't know what it's like. I was in the army during the Don't Ask, Don't Tell, and how dare you?" And I'd yell at them, and then once I left the left, and I was just like, everyone has a right to say what they want. You have a right to call me a faggot. This is like a free country. You know what I mean? Say what you want. I went and bought this camera, and I was going to make a YouTube channel. And I'm walking home from Best Buy with this camera, and this black dude comes up to me, and he just speeds up to me on his bike and fucking stops in an instant. And it's just like, "You fucking faggot, faggot," and he's just yelling faggot at the. And it was like, that was the day that I changed. And I was like, oh, oh, that's mean. And I walked away. And I was like, oh my God, this new life is so fucking easy. Not getting pissed off, like not giving people the power to like piss you off is beautiful. Like, all right, okay, you called me faggot. Great. Yes.
Would you like to know? I have a funny. It's not even a story, but like I made peace with the word faggot thanks to South Park.
Nah.
Like the Harley faggot episode. Honestly, that single episode of South Park completely cured me of any trauma that the word has. I mean, unless someone's like, actually, if someone comes right up to my face and is like, "You fucking faggot, loser," kind of thing. I mean, that might hurt my feelings for like a minute, but as far as like the word itself, it's just a word now.
Like I was, before I get into it or fall asleep, my journey to it was kind of, I'd say, atypical of most people who end up in this genre of YouTube or whatever we're calling it, because most people come from the attitude of, oh, what's his name, the quartering of, oh, my hobby's been corrupted, so therefore I don't like social justice, or it's been people who have either lived outside the bubble and don't understand inside the bubble, or live inside it and don't understand anything outside of it really too much. And I'm like one of the few people who I lived for a while outside of it, had no concept of what social justice was, because up until 2015 I was in Nevada still. And
they don't have it there.
Yeah, I mean, it literally just did not exist. Like, there is no population that wants it. Like the normal rich population that would support it in like California, or more specifically the Bay Area, is all either Mormon or really conservative in Nevada, so they just have no desire to have it around. And all the other people who would normally be like the, oh yeah, person of color crap, are usually too poor to really care about it either. So it literally just doesn't exist as a concept to most people. And then I like moved back to California, and like I said earlier in the chat, it's like I noticed them and like regard them the same as Mormons, being we just want something dominating us, being all totalitarian. And I'm like, well, this is shit, so I'm just not going to be, supportive of it. And eventually I found, I think, Sargon or Thunderfoot, and then just started watching their stuff, and then just like, yeah, you're worse than I thought. You're worse than shit. And eventually, my current iteration of my channel, I think it was right around the time of Charlottesville, I got drunk on vacation in Europe and just like, yeah, fuck it, I'm making a video while intoxicated. And yeah, that's how we got here.
Nice. Wait, are you the bisexual one?
Yep.
Nice. Yeah. Dude, that's even harder for you to break out. Oh my God.
Most of the feminists don't care about me. It's only when I open my mouth and say something non-kosher.
I mean, I still hear, like, I guess, biphobia in the gay culture. Like, people don't like bisexuals because they're like, if you're with a woman, you have left the rainbow crew. How dare you?
Fuck them. I don't usually date women, so I don't care.
Yeah.
It's a one-drop rule for pussy.
I actually have I have two friends that are bi, and they're married, but they both they're married to each other, but they both prefer men or women more. So now they like constantly hunt for a third, and it's hilarious to me. I'm like, man, you guys just, I don't know. But they constantly talk about the gay culture just hating them for being bisexual men. How dare you want a woman? A woman.
Well, I mean, you think a couple of feminists would want there to be a woman in there because men are just overrepresented in, homosexual relationships? You figure they'd want a woman in there somehow.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, then to answer your question, I came through Molyneux to the whole thing, which is, I guess, a little bit unusual.
Is this Saucepan?
Yep.
Spacepan.
Yeah. Oh, Spacepan. Saucepan, Jesus. But through Molyneux. Whoa, nice, dude.
Yeah, it was like one of the first the very first YouTube video I ever watched was like some J-pop videos, and we are like, oh cool, now we have YouTube. We don't have to send each other like mega upload links or whatever. Like and so yeah, and then like didn't really pay that much attention to, but then I saw like his like anti-voting video back in 2008, which is like the perfect message to show to all the Ron Paul kids. And then eventually he had interviewed like Karen Strawn and Paul Elam, I think both in 2013, and then that was how I discovered all of them, and then the Honey Badgers and Sargon and I don't even remember, like from that point it all just becomes a blur, because then for a while I was just like constantly, YouTube was my only form of entertainment that I ever really watched. And like I would all the time be on my computer constantly watching new videos and like speeding up videos so I could watch videos faster, and then like just subscribing to things in a flurry and just like trying to catch up on everything. And then that's been my life for the past like 5 or 6 years, I guess.
Yeah, dude, I mean, that's me now. And people think I've lost they're like, you're so, like, give YouTube a break. And I'm like, no, dude, it's my new news. Like, the news is now fake and I can't watch it. So I rely on a lot of other people for that.
Exactly. And it's so fun to just like build your own fucking weird constellation of just shit you find. Like my new favorite thing I just found is like Eclectic Kristen, who does like Dollar Tree home decor videos, and like she just uploaded one where she made like a tablescape out of stuff from the Dollar Tree, and I'm like, this is the best culture ever. And then like we learned about leather pageants a couple weeks ago, and then I learned about juggalo pageantry. Like there's juggalette pageants with a gathering of the juggalos, and it's just like endless. Like I don't know how people
I need to write this down.
And they're just like, you sit on YouTube all the time, don't you get bored? And I'm like, how? They're like, what would you like if I could clone myself, my clone would like also like troll YouTube and like try to find other shit. Like it's just like divide and conquer, just like do the same shit.
No, I'm just picturing you as a Cylon spacepan, where like you're like there's the spacepan model, and there are literally just hundreds of spacepans.
I literally wrote down juggalette pageantry. I am going to see this after this video.
Oh yeah, it's a trip. It's like the funnest shit you'll ever see. Like, and also there is this clip from the Gathering of the Juggalos where this dude's like on fire and it goes on for like 2 fucking minutes and they're just like videotaping it. It's like, whoa, that guy's on fire. Like, someone should help him. Yeah, and it's just like it's like running around and you think he's gonna jump in the water, but he just like doesn't because like I don't know, meth. I don't like or just bath salts. I don't know. But there's one part of this drunk that just shot that you can do it. It's like just. They seem to be able to like rack up a lot of Darwin awards without actually dying. So I think they might be God's chosen people.
Nice.
on the
Yeah,
DL.
I mean, my YouTube has evolved from like gaming to political to now. Now I'm watching a lot of now since I'm applying to the police force. Now I'm watching a lot of police YouTube streamers, and they break down police shootings, and it helps. It really helps. Like, it really helps when people are like, "Oh, police are racist." No, man, when you watch these streamers, they kind of break down everything, like horrible, dumb police and horrible, like horrible criminals that like break the law and they try to fight the police and stuff like that. And it's so multiracial. But only the news will cover one specific scenario. But YouTubers will be like, "This is what happened this week. Black cop beat up a white dude for no reason, got charged for," you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, this is one guy named Donut Operator, and he shows the most hilarious things.
I just discovered him yesterday. Like I was like, this guy has like 1.3 million followers or something. How did I never hear about him before?
And he's pretty to look at.
He's very cute. Donut Operator. He does a lot of like cop videos from like because he used to be a cop. I discovered him by watching Sovereign Citizen fail collections.
I've seen this guy before. Yeah, he is pretty cute.
He is. Oh my god, Sovereign Citizens, like they are. You know, the weirdest thing is there actually are. I've just discovered there are at least the videos. There are a larger number of Black sovereign citizens than I would have expected, and all I can really figure out as to why is because I was looking it up, and they think that this thing started sort of as like a kind of Christian separatist thing back in the 70s, and the Black community is, as a group, more religious than a lot of others. So that's about the only reason I could think, because normally I would associate this sort of weird, like, you know, like I serve no one's law except, you know, whatever, as being like, you know, you think some crazy hillbilly, like, you know, making moonshine. But then you also have like some of these videos on Donut's channel, like some very, very ghetto type people who are trying to quote stuff which I don't believe even they believe that they've read, but they're still saying it like you don't have the corpus delicta. I don't know what that means, and you don't either. So therefore, I don't have to follow your laws.
Yeah.
Am I being detained?
Am I being detained? I'm a traveler. I don't answer questions. The best is when you watch them in court, though.
Oh yes.
Oh my god, because judges don't take shit. They do not take shit.
Oh my god, they have no time for this.
Oh, literally none. It's like I don't have time for you. Like you're not gonna come to my podium. Okay, officers, bring them to the podium. Okay, you're gonna knock over the podium. Okay, lock their ass out. Even though I know she's not necessarily the nicest person, or maybe not even, but I'd still love to see Judge Judy versus a sovereign citizen. Like I would pay pay-per-view prices for that.
Yeah.
And about them is that they make tax protesters look bad, but like there actually are legit tax protester arguments, and like
just none of the ones that they use because they're no shit. I have, if we ever have another debate, which I'm actually not too anxious to do just because I get so much heartburn, but we should probably talk about anarchy sometime, just because I have some deep reservations about I think anarchy is a great idea, but I don't think it's very practical. But regardless, the tax arguments of sovereign citizens and the whole like your birth certificate is like some sort of weird contract that people are tricked into signing. It's oh my god, it's a whole nother level. You can't even make response videos to these people because they're clearly they make Riley Dennis look calm, collected, and deep.
Yeah, right. What made you choose Cats Are Gay?
Prince of Queens helped me with that actually, but my
That's
original.
pretty gay.
No, it's a variation on our traps gay. To be perfect, it's funny because I get so every time I leave a comment somewhere, there's invariably going to be someone saying like, "What?" Like they either love my name or they're like, "I don't get it," or like, "Yeah," or a lot of times I just get a simple response of yes. But no,
Yeah.
like my original name was Emmy Cat, just because my avatar was a cat. Because I had this ceramic statue of a cat that I really liked, and
Yeah.
I've got a lot of cats. Yeah,
And
so
I said that was not catchy enough.
no, he's right.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
So our cat's gay, and yeah, it's worked out well for me. So thank you, Prince. Still not paying you royalties.
But but Sauce is Sauce
Space.
Spaceman.
He's not a culinary channel.
I don't know. I like to cook. Maybe that's coming out of me.
Are you hungry?
Spaceman. Yeah,
Well, I mean,
right.
also the name means nothing, so like that doesn't help anyone, you know. Like,
Right. Aren't you an anarchist or?
yeah, I'm one of the ANCAP kids. There was a while, you know, where you're kind of on that edge where you're like, okay, maybe minarchism, maybe anarchism, but
Yeah.
that was one of the reasons I got a philosophy major. I was like, I'll go and study philosophy and I'll see if I can find the answer to this question of like, is there a good justification for a government? Spoiler alert, there's not. No one's ever given a good one. That's my position. I've never seen a remotely decent defensive government ever. Never been able to find one.
Oh, is that why like you guys got the sweats when you're talking about anarchy or?
Huh? Oh no, I mean we haven't really had that conversation, and it's a complicated one because there's the ethical question, and then there's the one of the pragmatism.
Yeah.
All I was talking about was like because the first time Spacepan and I ever met, quote unquote, was when we had a debate about circumcision, which was I wouldn't call it spicy because we were still talking to each other, but it was contentious. And
we didn't really have a debate format either.
Yeah, we did. Well, I lost subscribers from that actually. I'm not too many, but like I found it. I still might one day make a video about the fact that like you even talk about circumcision, it doesn't even matter what your position is.
I think you should make that video.
Yeah, I really should.
Because it would be a good video. Because I talked to him about it. And he was saying that he previously going into that debate, you were basically pro circumcision, and a lot of Spacepan's, not just Spacepan's arguments, but a lot of the audience reactions really made you think maybe I should reconsider this position to a certain degree. But you could go through both sides and just try to like really carefully examine.
I mean, like to me, like I wasn't necessarily even super pro circumcision. It was more like what I was talking to you about was like, to me, circumcision is kind of like a medical issue, and I was very curious about how it because like the comments, like people that I really that generally really like me, some of them were very angry with me, and I was like, this is odd amount. I just couldn't quite. Yeah, see, it's already happening in the chat right now. So yeah, so yeah, it is. It's an issue that is. It's very, very contentious, and it's something which I do want to talk about, but I'm honestly more afraid to talk about this than I am about any other subject. Just because it's the one thing that is guaranteed to make otherwise sane men just completely blow their shit. But that's yeah.
You guys, we are running out of time.
Yes.
Our early Gaytriarchy live streams are long so that we can get to know people, and then we'll know if we want to have them back and everything. And I think Max is a perfectly nice fella, and I am not against him coming back. But we will get to chat in private for a little bit. And to everybody in the chat, thank you for showing up. As always, we will be back next week. I haven't actually organized the guest for next week, unless there's somebody else that we have. But I might try to get this guy that I know who is a gay guy who is involved in the Libertarian Party. He was actually running in Toronto. So maybe him.
Are you getting the Canadian Prime Minister?
I mean, he is
we're
a
not-
twink.
We're gonna have Justin Trudeau on the Gaytriarchy. Everyone, you heard it. Prince of Queens is bringing us Justin Trudeau.
He's gonna appropriate anti-SJW culture next.
God.
Dude, there's actually a bartender at the gay part in Oakland, and he was trying to not serve me because I was a Republican. And I was like, he was like, I don't know, he was yelling at the top of his lungs, and I was just like, what does it matter what political party I'm at? Like,
How
he
does he
can just
know?
fucking serve me. Oh, dude, once the word gets out, they all just spread like wildfire. And I was talking shit about Justin Trudeau, and he's like, how dare you? And I'm like, are you Canadian? He's like, yeah. And I'm like, why are you here? I'm like, why are you here then? And he's like, well, I love Canada. And I'm like, well, why'd you move to America? And it's just fucking, it's so fucking. I
Well,
don't
clearly he was driven out by the biggest problem they have in Canada, which is moose attack.
No, really?
No, but but moose are quite dangerous. At least the females are when they have children, when they have
Damn.
kids.
But do you know who should run and fucking boot Justin Trudeau out of office? Fucking Jordan Peterson, goddamn
Oh
that.
my
Bet he would
God.
win.
Please.
He has actually said he does not want to get into politics at all.
I would
Like,
fucking move to Canada right now.
like, can you imagine, like, if Jordan Peterson became the Canadian Prime Minister? I mean, like, literally, I think that Canada would, like, I think Ontario would have to secede in order for that to work. Like, 'cause the rest of Canada would just, like, I don't know, start chucking what do they have? Maple syrup, ham that they unconvincingly call bacon, and the French.
Yeah,
Or not the French, the Quebecois. JF will come and say no.
I'm wondering now. Has Canada ever had a woman prime minister?
I don't know.
I don't think so.
I'm Googling it right now.
Okay.
They're just not very progressive.
All right, guys. Kill the stream. We're done.
Okay.
Yeah, well,
Good night, everybody.